Chapter 560. Sovereign Fa Lien. Go to hell with your repentance. That's where you belong. As for the others, I'll slowly send them down to keep you company. After speaking, the enormous black figure behind Yihua stretched out its palm, and a terrifying aura sprayed out. Black flames immediately enveloped Paragon Falion's body, and the Sunfall Heavenly Fire also landed on Paragon Falion's body. The black and yellow light exploded violently, and a terrifying cyclone covered the sky. Cracks began to appear on the entire Origin Heaven peak, and it looked like it would collapse at any moment. You will suffer retribution. You definitely will. The other supreme beings won't let you go. You will be killed again. Paragon Fa Lien's words gradually disappeared into the air, and with a wave of Yihua's hand, Paragon Fa Lien's storage bag fell into Yihua's hand, and Yihua's figure disappeared from the summit of the mountain. After Yihua left, the entire Origin Heaven peak started to shake, and along with the Sunfall Heavenly Fires devouring, the entire Origin Heaven peak started to fall apart. Yihua felt that this was really letting him off too easily. This was basically letting him die painlessly, and this was completely different from what he had planned. From the moment Yihua appeared until the end, the entire process only took about 5 minutes. In actuality, Yihua could have been faster, but Yihua couldn't help but want to continue chatting for a while. If not, he would be letting the other party die too easily. In the bedroom on the second floor of the bar, Yihua appeared. When Dongwang Baiji saw Yihua, she finally let out a sigh of relief. God bless me, I am safe and sound. When the few people from the 7 great sins saw that his honor had returned, and that Sovereign Fa Lien was most likely dead, everyone felt that Sovereign Fa Lien had died too easily, and there wasn't any process of despair at all. Although it had only been a few minutes, the space-time staff was almost exhausted. It seemed that the unborn child was even sucking the staff. How terrifying! Yihua hurriedly opened up Supreme Fa Lien's storage bag and took out the blooming lotus flower. However, the lotus flower was a bit big to the point that it looked like a small bed. You all can leave first, Yihua said faintly. Wei Chong and the others bowed and retreated. Right now, this was the only thing that was useful. After taking back the space-time scepter, Qingya's face instantly started showing signs of pain again. Furthermore, the speed at which Qingya was sucking the space-time scepter even faster. Yihua didn't dare to think too much and carried Qingya into the lotus flower. Looking at how much pain Qingya was in, Yihua's mood gradually sunk. I hope that this is really useful. The lotus flower could be seen slowly closing, and Yihua stood at the side and quietly waited. Everyone remained silent, because they knew that if they were to speak now, they would definitely anger Yihua. Thus, they decided to just wait. After all, even Dongwang Baiji didn't say anything. Dongwang Li was tightly hugging onto her mother's leg as she looked at the lotus worriedly. The good news was that Qingya's cries of pain had become much softer, and Yihua could feel that Qingya's aura had already stabilized, and there was no sign of Qingya being sucked. This little brat, when he comes out later, just wait and see how I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to spank him. Yihua, everything is fine now. Dongwang Baiji let out a breath of relief. Tonight can be said to be a daunting experience without any mishaps. Back then, when I gave birth to Ali, it was very smooth. With a plop, Ali came out. Yihua nodded his head, then looked at the other women and said gravely, You all can go back first. Your Honor, let us continue to observe the situation. When the time comes, we will be able to help out. Zishan said respectfully. Everyone nodded their heads, and Yihua did not continue speaking and quietly waited. Unknowingly, the darkness outside had dispersed, and a ray of light shone through the window. It seemed that the first day of a new year was a good day. However, when the sunlight shone onto the lotus, the entire lotus emitted out a colorful radiance, and the scene was instantly beautiful. Wah, wah. The sound of a baby crying rang out from within the lotus, and Yihua was completely stupefied. I didn't accompany Ali when she was born, and thus I don't know how to feel. However, right now, I am accompanying Qingya, and this kind of feeling is very complicated. I don't even know what I should do. Should I laugh? Or should I do something else? Little brother is born, Dong Huang shouted out loudly. Everyone came back to their senses, and even Wei Chong, who was outside the door, walked into the lotus. All of Wei Chang's subordinates prostrated on the ground and shouted out loudly, "Congratulations, Your Honor! Little His Honor has been born. Everyone, get up. You all have worked hard tonight." Yihua smiled. He smiled very happily. This little brat has finally calmed down. "Your Honor, you all have worked hard tonight." Yihua shook his head helplessly, then waved his hand, and everyone was dragged up from the lotus. At this time, the lotus slowly opened up, and Qinya could be seen sitting cross-legged on the lotus while carrying a little guy in her bosom. This little brat, I'm going to beat him to death. Yihua couldn't bear it anymore. To do such a thing before even being born, just what will happen in the future? Qinya hurriedly stopped Yihua and said, "What are you doing, beating your son right after coming out?" When the little fellow saw his father, he seemed to be very afraid. He hid within his mother's bosom and shivered. From the looks of it, he knew that he had done something wrong and was feeling very embarrassed. A loving mother tends to spoil her son. You ought to know why, but he said this sentence. "I am willing." Right now, Qinya didn't care about all those things. My son is my life. He is so adorable. "Mommy Qing, let me take a look at little brother." Dong Wangli ran over with small steps and stretched out her head to take a look at the little fellow. The little fellow looked very similar to Qinya. His eyes were very big, and his facial features were also very good. When he grows up, he will definitely become a lady killer. "Little brother, I am your big sister. Do you understand?" Dong Wangli said very earnestly, as if she was taking in a little brother. The little fellow looked at his big sister and was very confused. However, his bloodline was telling him that the person in front of him was his family. Thus, he nodded his head. Everyone didn't expect that the little fellow would actually be able to understand. This is simply too mystical. "Qinya, this little fellow looks very similar to you. His nose and eyes are simply exactly the same." Dong Wang Baiji laughed. Dong Wang Baiji felt that the little fellow and Ali were very similar. Everyone agreed with Dong Wang Baiji's words. This caused Yihua to feel very displeased. Why does my son not look like me? He clearly looks like me. Although Yihua said this, he knew that the child indeed looks like Qinya. However, the king's aura between the child's brows is exactly the same as him. Seems like the child will also become a ruler in the future. I wonder if Dong Wang Baiji is pregnant with a boy or a girl. I will know in another month or two. Everyone surrounded Qinya and looked at the little fellow who was in Qinya's bosom. At the start, the little fellow was very afraid of strangers, but gradually he got used to it and knew how to smile. However, when he saw his father, he immediately shut his mouth, then buried his entire face into his mother's bosom. He was scared to death. Right now, there was no mishap. Yihua said gravely, "Where's my son's red packet?" The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. How could they have prepared a red packet? They didn't expect their wife to give birth so quickly. "Your Honor, next time, if there's nothing else, we'll take our leave first." "Happy New Year, Your Honor." Lai Gu cupped his hands. Everyone immediately learned from Lai Gu's actions, and after saying that they would give the money to Lai Gu next time, they disappeared. Chapter 561. The corner of Yihua's mouth twitched. "The two of you are truly becoming more and more arrogant. To think that my son is actually not giving red packets." However, right at this moment, the phone in Yihua's pants kept on ringing. Yihua took out his phone and took a look. "At least you guys are tactful, knowing to send red packets." "Yihua, what's the matter?" Qinya carried her son and asked curiously. "Oh, it's nothing much. They're all trash text messages, the kind that involves gambling." Yihua said faintly, "It wasn't easy for me to obtain some private money, so how could I possibly hand it over? Come, let me hug my son." Yihua walked to the front of Qinya and said lightly. Qinya reminded, "Our son didn't do it on purpose. Don't hit him. Otherwise, I won't let you off." Dong Wang Baiji, who was at the side, laughed. "Qinya's current state is exactly the same as me back then. My child is my lifeblood. All right, I won't hit you." Qingye carefully placed the child into her husband's embrace. However, the little fellow was grabbing onto his mother's hand tightly, and that expression of his seemed to be saying, "Daddy is going to spank me." However, after Yihua hugged onto him, he shouted out angrily, "Little bastard, I will beat you to death." As he spoke, he slapped his buttocks. The little fellow immediately burst into tears and waved his hands at his mother for help. "Mom, save me." Qingye went into a daze for a moment, then immediately snatched her son over. "Yehua, Papa, brother knows he's wrong. Don't hit him anymore. He's so pitiful." Dong Wangli was also pleading for her little brother. The little fellow was currently in his mother's embrace, and he didn't even dare to look at his father. His little body was shivering in fear, and there was even a handprint on his little butt. In actuality, how could Yihua possibly hit him hard? He was just smacking him to teach him a lesson. The situation just now was too dangerous, and he nearly made a huge mistake. If he didn't teach him a lesson, he wouldn't be able to live. Qingye hugged on her son and coaxed, "Don't cry. With Mom here, Dad won't be able to bully you in the future." The little fellow was still wailing loudly and was completely unable to stop. What else could Qingye do? Yihua was only acting like this because he was worried about me. He should be hungry, Dong Wang Baiji said. Dong Wang Baiji had some experience with this. Qingye thought to herself, "Yihua, you can go out first." "Why would I go out?" Yihua was confused. "Haven't I inhaled before? That's embarrassing. We're already an old married couple." Dong Wangli was still a lot more sensible. Dong Wangli pulled on her father's hand and said, "Mommy Qing is going to feed little brother milk. Ollie used to be like this too. We can't watch." Being persuaded by his daughter like this, Yihua felt very flabbergasted, and he could only carry his daughter and leave for a while. "Daddy, what is little brother's name?" Dong Wangli asked curiously while hugging on her father. In actuality, he had already discussed with Qingye about the name of the name. "My younger brother's name is Yi Yan," Yihua said lightly. "Three fires. Fire, fire, fire." Dong Wangli muttered a few words. "Sounds good. Ollie, you have to take good care of your brother in the future, okay? You're my big sister now." Dong Wangli nodded her head and said earnestly, "Daddy, you can be at ease. Ollie will definitely take good care of little brother and won't let others bully little brother. Ollie still has to bring little brother out to play. Ollie is still sensible. She's Papa's little cotton-padded jacket." Yihua was very gratified to have a daughter like Ollie, who is obedient and sensible. That brat caused such a huge commotion when he was born, and even I, the Supreme Overlord, am unable to do anything to him. Dong Wangli smiled happily. "My position in my father's heart is unshakable. After all, Ali is my father's first child, and furthermore, she is the most obedient and sensible child. That should be enough. Let's go in. And I want to play with little brother." Yihua laughed. "Your little brother doesn't even know how to walk yet. It's fine. Ali will teach little brother how to play with mud." On the morning of the first day of Chinese New Year, people woke up very early to eat. After that, they would wait to go out and pay their New Year's greetings, visit their relatives, and so on. The children who received their New Year's money were already impatient to go out and play. There were also a lot of people selling beef skewers and mutton skewers on the streets. In a city like Gaohai City, it was not allowed to set up stalls on the streets. However, most of the people had already gone back home to celebrate the new year, and Gaohai City seemed a bit desolate. However, in one of the villas, Sky Raising Guild's members were having a pretty good new year. When they woke up in the morning, Sky Raising Guild was even giving out all kinds of red envelopes, asking for good luck. Feng Tian and Feng Di didn't believe in the new year. For example, Wang Debao and Bai Cixin also gave out red packets for good luck. After all, in the new year, they had to work hard. They had to take back everything that they had lost in the past. "Brother Qing, did you discover anything? Didn't you say that it would appear during the new year this year?" Wang Debao asked while eating Kong Shifu instant noodles. In actuality, everyone was eating instant noodles. On the first day of Chinese New Year, a lot of shops would be closed. Even Sky Raising Guild was eating Laotan pickled vegetable instant noodles, and Feng Tian and Feng Di were the same as well. What a frugal guild. Instant noodles were enough. Sky-raising guild's eyes slightly narrowed. Last night, there was indeed a very strong spiritual pressure. However, it was only for an instant, and it disappeared very quickly. I can only confirm that it came from the south. How strong is it? Feng Tian asked curiously. Sky-raising guild drank a mouthful of soup, then let out a breath. It can kill you with a single slap, so don't think about it anymore. We are unable to move. Everyone, kill Feng Tian with a single slap? Why doesn't Feng Tian believe it? He really wants to try and see if he can kill Feng Tian with a single slap. Sky-raising guild said softly, Feng Tian, don't think about it anymore. You will really be killed with a single slap. Trust me, I won't lie to you. Feng Tian wasn't convinced. He shouted in a deep voice, there's still a secret weapon. This so-called secret weapon was another personality. Sky-raising guild knew about it. So he said calmly, I know your secret weapon, so I will give you another slap. Actually, it will still be one slap. I'm sorry, I was just comforting you. Everyone, Sky-raising guild picked up the instant noodles and drank the soup again. It felt great. Then he put it down gently, as if he was afraid that the paper box would break. Actually, everyone don't worry. Let's just ignore this kind of boss for the time being. Let's find a weaker one first and split the loot. Sky-raising guild had been playing the legend of Mere Private Server with Wang DeBeo recently. Everything was related to loot. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Let's let him be arrogant for a while, and when the people in the cultivation world can't do anything about it, we will save him. Then, we will have the loot and reputation. Isn't that great? Sky-raising guild added. Everyone nodded. Reputation was what Bai Cixin wanted, and it was more attractive than loot. Suddenly, Sky-raising guild was stunned. The north has appeared, and they're quite strong. We can deal with them. In the snowy mountains in the north, a man looked at his hands and slowly closed his eyes. He murmured, I never thought that I, Xiao Yi, would be reborn again, and I have become an immortal venerable. The time for revenge is here. Chapter 562. At this moment, Xiao Yi's silvery hair hung down to his waist. He was wearing a white robe, looking like an immortal. Powerful spiritual energy hovered around him. Previously, Xiao Yi wasn't even an immortal sovereign, but after his rebirth, he had become an immortal venerable. His strength had increased by tens of times. Xiao Yi's powerful strength gave him incomparable confidence. He felt that he could even fight against Qinya and Black Robe. A black longsword suddenly appeared in Xiao Yi's hand. The sword's body emitted black starlight. If one looked closely, they would find that it was exactly the same as the Xianyuan sword. Only the color was different. Old friend, I'm very happy to see you. Xiao Yi's expression was calm and reserved, completely different from before. The black Xianyuan sword in his hand vibrated slightly. It seemed to be very excited and wanted to start a massacre. Don't worry, if there's a debt, we will get it back. Xiao Yi's eyes were filled with killing intent. He was now a terrifying immortal venerable. Whoever dared to defy him would be killed. Black Robe, this immortal supremacy still remembers the debt of forcing my beloved wife to her death. Qinya, this debt of forcing me to die, this immortal supremacy still remembers. And that man, the main culprit, this immortal supremacy will take them back one by one. In a flash, Xiao Yi disappeared and reappeared in his home. His daughters had just been born, and he had just taken a look at them. Now that he had been reborn, he would definitely let them live a good life. He would also let them become objects of respect. Shu Nan, Yuqi, Yinar. Xiao Yi shouted with joy in his heart. However, the spacious villa seemed deserted. The table was covered with a layer of dust, as if no one had lived there for a long time. This caused Xiao Yi's expression to sink. He quickly rushed upstairs and opened every bedroom, but there was no one. Xiao Yi's face was very ugly. Thick veins popped out his skin. Where are they? Where is he? My woman. My child. It must be Qinya. It must be Qinya who killed all of them. At that time, Qinya even said that she would spare their lives. I didn't expect that after I died. Qinya basically didn't let my family off. He couldn't find his children's aura at all. There was only one conclusion. His 2 children were dead. Shu Nan and the others were killed by Qinya. Qinya, you are so vicious. Voidless stage. This immortal sovereign wants you to pay with blood. After reincarnating, Xiao Yi had completely lost his rationality. He thought that Qinya had killed his woman and child. Your woman and child are all on the blue blaze star. How could you sense them? Because of this, Xiao Yi underwent a crazy change. The death of his wife and son caused Xiao Yi to lose all hope. It was as if he had to kill everyone in the world to get rid of this resentment. Xin Yuan's sword once again appeared in Xiao Yi's hand, because Xiao Yi had decided to massacre Voidless Realm and take revenge for his wife and son. However, this was just the beginning. However, Xiao Yi suddenly discovered one thing. Where is Voidless Realm? He had no idea at all. Xiao Yi floated in the sky of the north once again, and with a sinister and scary look on his face, he said, Voidless Realm. This immortal Empyrean will kill until you all come out. After saying that, he swooped down. Below him were some small clans in the north. They were celebrating the first day of a new year. Children were building snowmen outside, playing merrily. However, within a few minutes, the happy house had turned into a living hell. Corpses were strewn all over the ground, and the white snowman was stained with the blood of the children. The children who had been laughing happily just a moment ago had fallen beside the snowman, and their eyes were filled with confusion. Why did that uncle want to kill me? Why did he want to kill my father, mother, grandpa, grandma, big brother, big sister? Why did this happen, Xiao? He looked at everything in front of him coldly. There is no why. Because this immortal Empyrean just wanted to kill. I want to use endless slaughter to take revenge for my wife and son. Cruel slaughters were being carried out on the first day of the new year. On average, a small family was being exterminated every hour, and the methods used to kill people were simply inhumane. However, some of the scenes were taken by people who were about to die and uploaded to the Cultivation Worlds forum. The video had the intention of warning everyone to be careful of this Xiao Yi. He had already gone crazy. Such a video immediately swept through the entire cultivation world. Xiao Yi, who had disappeared for a few months, actually appeared again. Furthermore, this time he actually massacred some small families. He was extremely hateful. Everyone prayed to Voidless Realm to come out and kill this Xiao Yi. This Xiao Yi is simply a scum. Right now, Skyholding Realms team was watching the video of Xiao Yi killing people. What is going on with this Xiao Yi? Why is he randomly killing people? Wang Debao was puzzled. Initially, he thought that Xiao Yi's family must have met with some kind of mishap when they disappeared. However, this Xiao Yi suddenly appeared again, and furthermore, he started killing people without any restraint. Skyholding Realm laughed lightly. Xiao Yi is the target this time. The 4 people at the side were startled, and Feng Tian said, faintly, this Xiao Yi is the person who reincarnated this time. Skyholding Realm nodded his head. Bai Cixin said confusedly, then, does that mean that Xiao Yi was killed at the start? Feng Tian snorted coldly. Who cares if he was killed or not? That black weapon in his hand is not bad, I want it. Don't worry. The more powerful the person who reincarnated, the more treasures they would have on them. Skyholding Realm said faintly. Big Brother Qing, then, when are we going to make a move? Wang Debao asked curiously. Skyholding Realm laughed lightly. Let him continue killing for a while first. If not, where would the hatred come from? Our appearance wouldn't be that shocking. This was precisely the effect that Bai Cixin needed, while Feng Tian didn't need it. Thus, Bai Cixin appeared very impatient and turned around to go upstairs. On the other side, Yihua's family of 5 returned to Voidless Realm. After all, Voidless Realm's spiritual energy was rich, and the spiritual energy in Voidless Realm was beneficial to children. Qinya hugged onto her son, and a motherly radiance could be seen on the corner of her mouth. In Qinya's eyes, right now, there was only her son, and Yihua was no longer in her eyes. Dong Wangli stood at the side and played with her little brother. Dong Wangli was very happy. I really hope that my little brother can grow up quickly. Yihua and Dong Wang Baiji stood at the side. Yihua felt very helpless as he asked, Baiji, were you like this back then as well? Dong Wang Baiji snuggled into her husband's embrace. That's right, I was like this when Ali was born. However, in order to keep it a secret, I didn't protect her every day like Qinya. I truly let her daughter down. Why didn't you come and look for me? Yihua said faintly. Dong Wang Baiji punched onto Yihua's chest with her small fist. You heartless man, you didn't even want to see me. At that time, I hated you to death, and I even decided to never see you again. Your Majesty's temper isn't small, just that I never would have thought that you would fall into my hands again, and right now, you are even pregnant with a second child. Yihua couldn't help but tease Dong Wang Baiji. I feel that my current life isn't bad. Dong Wang Baiji said coquettishly, Bad man, huh? Yihua laughed heartily. I like the way the Empress is acting. Chapter 563. Dong Wang Baiji pinched onto Yihua's waist and acted coquettishly. Yihua lightly caressed his beloved wife's hair. In this world, only the two of you would dare to pinch me like this. We are your wives. If you don't give us a massage, are you going to give other women a massage? Dong Wang Baiji said proudly. Right now, she wasn't even afraid of Yihua anymore. It was better not to talk about such topics, as they were very jealous. Report. A guard suddenly rushed in. When he saw his Empress nestled in the man's embrace, he was instantly shocked and hurriedly squatted down and lowered his head. Dong Wang Baiji's expression sunk as she left Yihua's embrace. What are you making a fuss about? Please forgive me, Your Majesty, the guard said while trembling with fear. Speak. What is it? The guard said in a low voice. Your Majesty, just a few hours ago, there was a massacre in the north. A few small families were brutally exterminated. Qinya looked towards Yihua, seemingly asking, Aren't you the one watching over that group of people? Why did he suddenly come to the north to kill people? Yihua was also very puzzled. If something were to really happen, Brett would definitely come and inform me. Who? Yihua asked faintly. It's Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi? Yihua and Dong Wang Baiji clearly went into a daze for a moment, then looked towards Qinya, who was not far away. Didn't Xiao Yi get killed by Qinya? Why did Xiao Yi appear again? Qinya had obviously heard it as well, and she was confused. That night, I had clearly already killed him. I saw it with my own eyes, and he had already turned into ashes. How could he still be alive? While carrying her son, Qinya walked over and asked gravely, Are you sure it's Xiao Yi? The guard nodded. You can leave first, Yihua said faintly. The guard didn't dare to say anything and retreated first. Yihua didn't doubt that Qinya released Xiao Yi. He was just curious about how Xiao Yi managed to survive. However, when he thought about the 5-year cycle, could it be that it started with Xiao Yi rebirth? The three of them looked at the video on the forum and confirmed that it was Xiao Yi. This Xiao Yi really has the essence of a cockroach, Yihua said indifferently. Compared to Xiao Yi, Yihua liked that blood demon more. Look at other people. In the past, all of them wanted to bring calamity to the common people. After being screwed twice in a row, he kept a low profile and obediently worked at the bar. As for Xiao Yi, he had probably been screwed several times already, but he still didn't know how to repent. He was simply hopeless. Couldn't he just live an honest life? Look at the Supreme Overlord. Despite possessing such great power, the Supreme Overlord never flaunts it, nor does he bully the weak. It shouldn't be too much for him to receive the Good Citizen Award, right? I'll deal with it again, Qinya said coldly. Although she didn't know how Xiao Yi was still alive, seeing so many people die at his hands, Qinya felt that it was her responsibility to not completely eradicate Xiao Yi. Yihua didn't want Qinya to take action again. A person like Qinya wasn't worth it. Moreover, just now Brett had also sent over news that the target of that group of people was also Xiao Yi. Sooner or later, they would have to take action against Xiao Yi. Qinya, take good care of your child. Leave this matter to me, Yihua said faintly, then looked towards his son who was in Qinya's embrace. When Yin saw his father's expression, he once again buried his face into his mother's embrace. not daring to look at his father. So fierce, Qingya felt that she had lost face in front of her husband. I didn't even kill all the people that I killed, and I felt a bit guilty. Dongwang Baiji didn't say anything. She just listened to her husband's orders. However, the entire northern side was in chaos. Xiao, he killed anyone he saw, killing gods he saw. He was just terrifying. It has already been more than 10 hours, yet there was still no reaction for Voidless Realm. This caused Yi Hua to be even more flustered. This was similar to the incident in the south last year, and Xiao Yi was even more vicious than that group of people. More than 10 families had been killed, and even newborn babies were not spared. This was a crime worthy of divine retribution. At this time, the Cultivation World's forum was exploding. Why hasn't anyone come to save the North? We're about to be killed by Xiao Yi. Back then, our Empress went to save the South. Now that the North is in trouble, is the South just going to watch? Big brother, it's useless even if you ask us to go. He's the act tough Wang Xiao. The big shots on our side haven't responded yet. This act tough King Xiao is too arrogant. We have to defeat him together. Who wants to form a team? Have a safe journey. Sorry for bothering you. Just when everyone was in a state of panic, a new avatar suddenly appeared. What a cool name. Justice Alliance. Furthermore, a thread was made. Dear brothers and sisters, after knowing that you are in danger, we were very worried. Therefore, we have decided to lead our members to punish evil and bring peace back to the North. The time will be 10 p.m. tonight. Brothers and sisters who have just gotten off work can come and watch the battle. Qing Tian was very satisfied. This way, I will be able to display the positive energy of my team. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin sat at the side and quietly waited for the reply. Half an hour later, there was finally a reply. I am 8 years old this year. Can I join your alliance? Qing Tian and the others, after waiting for such a long time, there was actually such a comment, and the comment was even pushed down by other threads. Simply shameless. Big brother Qing, this method of yours won't work. Wang Debao shook his head. Not receiving any attention at all, the moderator doesn't even know how to add a gem. Qing Tian let out a light sigh. I was too careless. However, it doesn't matter. When we appear on time tonight, they will definitely be shocked. Bai Cixin nodded her head and said, That's right. They don't care about us right now. When we become famous, there will naturally be a lot of people commenting on us. After that, we will be able to recruit a lot of powerful experts. Voidless Realm. If a family can claim to be a big shot, we can do it too. Qing Tian's eyes flickered with a strange color. Is the conspiracy behind this twisted human nature or moral degeneration? Bai Cixin had a fanatical look on her face, as if she had already been brainwashed by Qing Tian. Wang Debao, who was sitting at the side, had a worried look on his wife's face. This Qing Tian was just like the head of Sex, bewitching everyone, pulling out everyone's desires, and then controlling them. What a formidable control technique. Right now, it was already 8 p.m. Xiao Yi was sitting at a food street, eating mala soup, and his eyes were looking at the note. There were a lot of families' names written on the note, and there were already more than 10 families whose names were marked with red bars. Just that, I didn't expect that after I killed so many people, no one from Voidless Realm actually appeared. This is truly cold-blooded. Not coming out, I don't believe it. If I, venerable immortal Xiao, slaughter Voidless Realm, I won't be able to eat for the rest of my life. Boss, your food is here. A bowl of fragrant braised meat rice was served in front of Xiao Yi. Where's the egg? Xiao Yi said gravely. I'm sorry, I didn't hear it just now. I will add the egg for you now. You don't have any professionalism at all. I clearly asked you to add the egg just now. Chapter 564. While eating the fragrant braised meat rice, Xiao Yi looked at the name written on the paper. Next one, it's the Chun family. The family head, Chun Xuanzong, a dark horse from the north. Currently, Chun Xuanzong was enjoying his dinner at home. There was only one person eating at the 8 meters long dining table. Chun Xuanzong didn't have a girlfriend. Although there were many women chasing after him, Chen Xuanzong only had Qingya in his heart. Chen Xuanzong's family members had all passed away. Therefore, he was the only one left in the Chen family. Currently, Chen Xuanzong was holding a tablet and watching a video. A trace of blood could be seen at the corner of his mouth. This shout, he finally came out. I was just worried that I couldn't find him. God bless my Chen family. Let me kill this Xiao Yi with my spear. Chen Xuanzong cut a piece of steak and stuffed it into his mouth. Blood could be seen at the corner of his mouth. At first glance, the steak was only half done, and there was still blood in it. The other servants were also shocked to see their boss eating like this, but it was just for a while, as if they were used to it. When Chen Xuanzong finished his delicious steak and was about to eat with a piece of tissue, a huge aura appeared. Chen Xuanzong's face tightened. With a bang, the door was thrown open and the expensive furniture was smashed into pieces. Xiao Yi walked in slowly. When Chen Xuanzong saw that it was Xiao Yi, his eyes shone with passion. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There's no door to hell, but you insist on barging in. Save me the trouble of finding you. Chen Xuanzong, if you kill yourself, I'll let you die in one piece. Xiao Yi shouted coldly with the black Xianyuan sword in his hand. Chen Xuanzong laughed. Xiao Yi, you still like to act tough. I didn't get my title of Act Tough King for nothing. Xiao Yi said disdainfully. A small family head dares to act tough in front of me. Chen Xuanzong stood up and emitted killing intent. Since you're here, it's for the best. I'll settle old and new scores together. Do we still have old scores? I really don't remember, Xiao Yi said calmly. He had too much blood on his hands. He couldn't remember all of them. Chen Xuanzong's face turned cold. He shouted coldly, You killed dozens of my family members, and you still don't remember. Chen family? I'm sorry, I really don't remember. Maybe you can give me more details. Have you forgotten that you killed my entire family for the Xianyuan sword? This time, Xiao, he finally remembered and laughed. You were the child that was left alone? Who would have thought that this would be fate? Killing you today can be considered as truly destroying your Chen clan. Kill me? Xiao, do you really think I'm that easy to kill? Next year, today will be the anniversary of your death. No one will go and mend the grass on your grave. Xiao Yi was helpless and patted the dust off his sleeves. Don't worry, the grass on your grave won't be too short. Chen Xuanzong said faintly, Let's go out and fight. Sure, Xiao Yi readily agreed. The two of them came to a nearby bamboo forest. The temperature in the north was extremely low, especially at night. The cold wind howled, and it was bone-chilling. Right now, it was probably a few degrees below zero. Rustling sounds could be heard from the bamboo forest. Fallen leaves fell down, as if hinting at some kind of message. Xiao Yi and Chen Xuanzong stood opposite each other. This was a fated battle. Chen Xuanzong, the Devil Emperor, had come back to this world to take revenge. Moreover, he had been looking for a chance to kill Xiao Yi. Now the time had come. Killing Xiao Yi would make him more famous. Immortal Emperor versus Devil Emperor. However, Xiao Yi was probably not an immortal emperor anymore. He had already ascended to the immortal reverent realm. However, Chen Xuanzong, the Devil Emperor, was not someone to be trifled with. A spear appeared in Chen Xuanzong's hand. When the spear appeared, a horrifying aura exploded. The surrounding bamboos were all vaporized, and an empty space was formed. The entire spear shone with golden radiance. The sharp spearhead shone with a lethal aura. Complicated patterns were engraved on the spear's body, flickering slightly. 6 shadowy moon. Chen Xuanzong shouted and pointed the spear at the sky. A clump of golden radiance appeared in the pitch-black sky. In an instant, it descended with a violent aura, just like a tornado. The spearhead absorbed the might of the sky and became even more dazzling. The violent aura roared in all directions, and the rumbling sound pierced through the heavens and earth. Xiao Yi frowned. You actually have an ancient godly artifact. That's right. The 6 shadowy moon in Chen Xuanzong's hand was an ancient godly artifact. It was a weapon that came from a devil emperor. Chen Xuanzong could be considered to be a patient person. He actually didn't reveal the ancient godly artifact in his hand. If he did, he might also be one of the aristocratic families. Chen Xuanzong came back for revenge. Moreover, he didn't want Xiao Yi to die so easily. Of course, it was also for Qinya. Consolidating his own strength was just to live a good life with Qinya. He didn't want to fight for anything. That's right. My sixth shadowy moon is an ancient godly artifact, Xiao Yi. Tonight will be the day you die. Having an ancient godly artifact was a form of reliance. One should know that even a big shot like the Ying family didn't have an ancient godly artifact. They only had a lot of ancient godly items. Ha ha! Xiao Yi suddenly laughed. Then he swung the Xinyuan sword in his hand. If it was in the past, I might be a little afraid. However, my Xinyuan sword has already surpassed the level of an ancient godly item. It has reached the level of an ancient godly item. After he finished speaking, the Xinyuan sword in Xiao Yi's hand trembled. A half-moon black sword aura with killing intent attacked Chen Xuanzong. He really started fighting without saying anything. Chen Xuanzong snorted lightly. The sixth shadowy moon in his hand stabbed forward. Instantly, golden radiance shone brightly. The two clashed. The color of the world changed. The surface of the earth cracked, forming a bottomless ravine. Gusts of astral winds swept through the surroundings. This was the power of an ancient godly artifact. When the two clashed, even the color of the world changed. The radiance emitted from the collision illuminated the entire world. The result of this clash was 50-50. It was a tie. Not bad, Xiao Yi said indifferently. I didn't expect your Xinyuan sword to evolve. Consider yourself lucky. The sixth shadowy moon in Chen Xuanzong's hand wasn't any weaker than Xiao Yi's Xinyuan sword. Sometimes, luck is also a kind of strength. Just like how your luck wasn't that good, and your entire clan was annihilated by me. These words stabbed into Chen Xuanzong's sore spot. His expression suddenly changed. The sixth shadowy moon in his hand seemed to have sensed its master's anger. Scarlet flame, twilight cloud. Chen Xuanzong waved the ancient godly artifact in his hand. In an instant, he stabbed forward 100 times. Rays of bright, golden radiance flowed out. Those 100+ spears seemed to be drawing something. A golden figure appeared. It looked like fire and clouds at the same time. It was impossible to tell if it was real or fake. However, this was something released by an ancient godly artifact. How could it be weak? The golden figure was also holding a spear in his hand. It emitted an astonishing aura, as expected of an ancient godly artifact. Chapter 565. Right now, Chen Xuanzong had the advantage in numbers. This was the unique skill of the 6 shadow moons. It was as if Chen Xuanzong was in possession of an ancient godly artifact. Moreover, it was an ancient godly artifact that could move. Xiao, he was a little shocked. If it was the past him, he wouldn't be able to defeat his opponent. But now, he was an immortal venerable. How could he be afraid of this? Heaven punishment sword art, Brahma's mandate. Xianyuan soared into the sky. Xiao Yi roared furiously. Whoosh, whoosh. 9 Xianyuan swords actually appeared in the sky. Each Xianyuan sword was condensing a terrifying spiritual qi, which spread in all directions. Chen Xuanzong didn't dare to be careless. He pointed the 6 moons at the sword array and shouted, Star Luo, chant. A dazzling light shot out from the spearhead. A dragon roar resounded between the heavens and earth. It actually turned into a golden dragon in the sky. A monstrous pressure was condensing. The golden dragon opened its mouth, and a golden flame instantly shot towards the 9 Xianyuan swords. The golden silhouette beside him rushed towards Xiao Yi, which surprised Xiao Yi. 2 against 1 was indeed advantageous. Xiao Yi's speed was extremely fast. He instantly dodged the golden silhouette's attack and quickly made a hand seal fall. The 9 Xianyuan swords immediately shot out 9 rays of black light and collided with the golden flames spat out by the dragon. Boom! Boom! The dark night was as bright as day. Huge waves of air spread out like a cutting machine. The The golden dragon disappeared, and the Xianyuan sword fell into Xiao Yi's hand. The collision of this move was also evenly matched, which meant that the collision of ancient divine weapons was also ineffective. However, Xiao Yi was a little annoyed. The golden silhouette kept chasing after him. He couldn't even kill it because it was an energy body. Even if he cut off its hand, it would immediately regrow and continue to chase after him. Only now did Xiao Yi realize that the ancient divine tool was undying. He could only kill Qin Xuanzong first. Then, everything would be over. He couldn't gain any advantage in the collision of ancient divine tools. Therefore, he could only rely on his own strength. Xiao Yi was smart for once. Qin Xuanzong was only a devil sovereign. His overall strength was weaker than an immortal venerable. If Xiao Yi was still an immortal sovereign, it was still unknown who would win. Qin Xuanzong immediately became passive. He felt that Xiao Yi's speed was too fast. If it wasn't for the golden man restraining him, he would have been defeated. Qin Xuanzong, what's wrong? What are you hiding for? Xiao Yi shouted coldly with an insolent aura. The more he fought, the more smoothly he got. Xiao Yi, you win. Qin Xuanzong was well aware that he couldn't gain the upper hand in terms of weapons. Even in terms of movement techniques, his opponent was much stronger. It was only a matter of time before he lost. Furthermore, there was a time limit for the Golden Man. If Xiao Yi lost the restraint of the Golden Man, he would soon be killed by him. That's not a very good message. Xiao Yi smiled and said, Qin Xuanzong, don't you want to take revenge? What are you running for? Fight me to the death. Xiao Yi, just you wait. One day I will kill you. Qin Xuanzong began fleeing at full speed, because the golden figure was about to disappear. However, how could Xiao Yi let Qin Xuanzong escape? The Xianyuan sword in his hand instantly blocked Qin Xuanzong's path of retreat. At the same time, he shook off the attacking golden figure. Then, he charged towards Qin Xuanzong. Qin Xuanzong cursed in his heart. How did Xiao Yi's strength change so much? He didn't have such strength in the past. Seems like I was too careless. I should have killed him earlier. Suddenly, Xiao Yi felt the aura behind him disappear. Then he smiled and said, Qin Xuanzong without the golden man, let's see how long you can last. Qin Xuanzong stared at Xiao Yi. I can't run anymore. I can only fight with my life. Xiao Yi, if you're capable, let's fight 3 years later. Xiao Yi was amused. 3 years later? You read too many novels, right? I will take your life in 3 seconds. You. Qin Xuanzong fell helpless. The difference in strength was his weakness. If Xiao Yi didn't have an ancient divine weapon, he could still kill him even if he had the strength. Unfortunately, Xiao Yi had an ancient divine weapon and great strength. Qin Xuanzong felt that he could only fight with his life. Seeing Qin Xuanzong's action, Xiao Yi sneered. He really came to die. That spear is really good. However, just when Xiao Yi was about to attack, 5 people suddenly appeared. This situation made Xiao Yi and Qin Xuanzong a bit dazed. That's right, the people who came were the Justice and Order Alliance. It was exactly 10 p.m., no more and no less. Wang Debao was holding a selfie stick and a phone, facing the scene. The Cultivation World's live broadcast was online. Hello everyone. We are the Justice and Order Alliance. The one standing in front of us is the Act Tough King, Xiao Yi, and the one over there, seems to be Comrade Qin Xuanzong. Looking at the scene, he should have gone through a big battle. It's already a miracle that he is still alive. Qin Xuanzong, Wang Debao said again, we are the Justice and Order Alliance. Please follow our WeChat account. We welcome like-minded brothers to join our ranks and make the world more beautiful. Those who are close to us can come and take a look at the scene. After that, Wang Debao ended the live broadcast. It was just an advertisement. It wasn't necessary to keep the live broadcast going. Xiao Yi slowly turned around and looked at the group of people he knew. What are you guys doing here? Xiao Yi questioned. Qin Xuanzong, who was at the side, was startled. These people know me. Doesn't that mean I'm dead for sure? Am I so unlucky? Qin Tianyi took a step forward and spread out his hands. Xiao Yi, you should know what we are going to do. You should know. You want to kill me? Xiao Yi's face turned cold, and a violent aura suddenly appeared. This shocked Chen Xuanzong. It seems that Xiao Yi didn't use his true strength just now. It seems that he was just playing with me. Damn it. Qing Tiandi sighed and said indifferently, Xiao Yi, we didn't expect you to be the first person to reincarnate. Maybe this is the will of the heavens. Our former comrade has become like this. Xiao Yi laughed. Qing Tiandi, I might have been afraid of you in the past, but now I'm not afraid of you. Xiao Yi's aura rose again, and the whole ground started to tremble. Cracks even appeared on the ground. The air was like boiling water, and the temperature was rising rapidly. Chen Xuanzong, who was at the side, finally knew the true strength of this act-tough king. If I didn't have an ancient godly artifact, I might not even be able to resist him for half a minute. Why is he so strong? Qing Tiandi smiled and took a step back. Behind him, Feng Tian walked out and stretched his neck. Chapter 566. However, Xiao Yi had never seen this pair of weird-looking gloves before. Feng Tian was just messing around when he slaughtered the Tang family that night. He still kept his trump card. Sensing the terrifying aura coming from the gloves, Xiao Yi's expression turned gloomy. He felt that this wasn't an ancient godly artifact. What is it? Could there be something even more powerful than this ancient godly artifact? Xiao Yi, kill yourself now, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Feng Tian shouted coldly. With half of his mask on, he looked extremely ferocious and mysterious. Unexpectedly, his words made Chen Xuanzong laugh. Ha ha! Xiao Yi, you didn't expect this, right? This is a slap to your face, right? Ha ha ha! Shut up! Xiao Yi's Xinyuan sword instantly slashed towards the laughing Chen Xuanzong. Qing Tian muttered. Feng Tian seemed to resist, but he still disappeared on the spot. Just as Chen Xuanzong was about to block the incoming sword chi, he felt like he fell into a warm embrace. The scene froze at this moment. Wang Debao took out his phone and took a picture. Then, he uploaded it to the Cultivation Worlds forum. Title: Justice Alliance saves Chen Xuanzong. The previous picture was still attached below. It seemed very lively. In addition to Chen Xuanzong's panicked expression and Feng Tian's condescending attitude, it seemed very gay. Feng Tian leaned down slightly and hugged Chen Xuanzong with his right hand. Chen Xuanzong was half lying in Feng Tian's embrace. The two of them were looking at each other. At this moment, the background music should be played again to confirm the look in each other's eyes. Chen Xuanzong looked at the golden red eyes and the mask, and he seemed a little panicked. What the hell is this? You were saved. Feng Tian endured the pain in his heart and said such a sentence. Wang Debao accepted this sentence very well and then sent it to the forum. What a touching sentence. I was saved? Can't I accept it? Are you shameless? Feng Tian felt like he was going to vomit. He shouted towards Qing Tian. Is that enough? Qing Tian was looking at the replies on the forum and felt that it was enough. All right, let's get down to business. Feng Tian's hand suddenly loosened, and Chen Xuanzong was thrown onto the ground. Are you sick? Feng Tian slowly turned around. His eyes emitted a bone-chilling, killing intent. Chen Xuanzong immediately shut his mouth. This man is even more terrifying than Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi, today, I will execute you in the name of justice. Feng Tian spoke according to his script, and Wang Debao's task was to record this battle. Of course, he still had to edit out the parts that needed to be edited out. Xiao Yi didn't say anything. A vast spirit energy gathered in the clouds. Today, I'll let you see my true strength. Suddenly, the spiritual energy in the clouds descended and covered Xiao Yi. The terrifying spiritual energy was like a raging wave that pierced through heaven and earth. In the surroundings, there were a lot of people who had come because of the fame. When they saw such a terrifying scene, they did not dare to get close. If they were killed, it would be such a waste. A moment later, the world returned to darkness. Xiao Yi's entire body emitted a pure white light. He was so extraordinary that people couldn't help but want to worship him. I didn't expect you to have such strength in just a few months. No wonder you're so arrogant, Feng Tian said softly. The gloves on his hands didn't show any signs of weakening. It was a prehistoric godly item that had shocking battle strength. Xiao Yi's temperament became faintly discernible just now. Why aren't you kneeling down and submitting to me? These words were completely reasonable. Then take my punch first, Feng Tian shouted. The gloves on his hands seemed to have sensed its master's anger and started to move. Without any exaggerated destruction, Feng Tian punched out with a loud bang. This was the difference between godly items. For example, ancient godly items would release their power and greatly weaken themselves. However, prehistoric godly items didn't have such exaggerated special effects. By condensing all their power, the power produced would be horrifying. Xiao Yi snorted. He didn't see the true nature of the gloves. He raised his Xinyuan sword and stabbed out. A terrifying black radiance that brought along destructive power struck towards Feng Tian's fist. Feng Tian didn't have the slightest bit of fear. After all, this was a genuine prehistoric godly item. Lowly and die, Xiao Yi shouted, and the black radiance on Xinyuan's sword became even more terrifying. Feng Tian laughed, seemingly mocking Xiao Yi's ignorance. When the gloves and Xinyuan's sword came into contact, there wasn't any explosion, because the tip of Xinyuan's sword began to bend, as if a piece of metal was being squeezed by a powerful force. Xiao Yi opened his eyes wide and looked at his Xinyuan sword in disbelief as it started to bend. This is impossible. How did you do it? Did you use some sort of smokescreen? Xiao Yi muttered. He was completely unable to accept what was happening in front of him. This is my own Xinyuan sword. How can this be? In actuality, this Xinyuan sword is only an imitation. The real Xinyuan sword is still in Voidless Realm. Xiao Yi, you overestimate yourself too much. You're nothing more than an insignificant chess piece in this world. Qing Tian laughed lightly. Xiao Yi abruptly retreated and threw away the Xinyuan sword in his hand. If not, that fist would have injured him. The Xinyuan sword that looked like a scrap metal fell onto the ground. Feng Tian didn't mind it at all, and the intersecting golden and red radiance on the Xinyuan sword was sucked clean in an instant. Afterward, the might emitted from the gloves increased by a bit once again. What kind of weapon is this? Xiao Yi panicked. The imposing manner he had just a moment ago was thrown to the back of his head, and he no longer dared to act arrogantly. The other party destroyed his weapon with a single punch and even absorbed the weapon's energy. How could he not be shocked? Xiao Yi, I told you, if you kill yourself, I'll leave you with an intact corpse. Feng Tian swung his fist once again. This time, Xiao, you won't be able to escape death. Chun Xuanzong's jaw was about to fall onto the ground. Xiao Yi's weapon is an ancient godly artifact. This man's gloves are actually able to destroy an ancient godly artifact. Am I seeing things? Xiao Yi's expression was very grave, and suddenly, he looked towards Qing Tian, who was smiling at the side. This damned fellow, as long as I kill him, there should still be a bit of hope. As for strength, Xiao Yi felt that Qing Tian's strength shouldn't be very strong. After all, last time, Qing Tian didn't even participate in the battle at all. With this thought in mind, Xiao Yi didn't think too much about it and turned around to attack Qing Tian. And when Feng Tian saw that Xiao Yi had found his target, he actually didn't chase after Xiao Yi. Instead, he looked as if he was watching a show. Chapter 567. Qing Tian naturally saw Feng Tian's action and laughed lightly. Of course, he didn't put Xiao Yi, who suddenly appeared in his eyes, and he just stood there motionlessly. Big brother Qing, be careful. Wang Debao couldn't help but shout out. This Qing Tian is actually standing there motionlessly. Don't get careless. Bai Cixin and Feng Di, who were at the side, didn't say anything, seemingly wanted to see just what kind of person Qing Tian is and how strong he is. After all, Qing Tian has always been the one giving orders to everyone. If he doesn't have powerful strength, How can he be the team leader? This scene was seen by Qing Tian. Xiao Yi, who was crazily slaughtering, arrived in front of Qing Tian, but Qing Tian still didn't move. However, right at this moment, Xiao Yi's body actually stopped. If the spiritual sword were to move forward a centimeter, it would be able to touch Qing Tian's forehead and even penetrate through his head. However, Xiao Yi was unable to do it because his body couldn't move at all. Xiao Yi, actually, we used to be a very good team. What a pity, Qing Tian slowly said. Seeing Xiao Yi struggling in midair, everyone was shocked. Just how did Qing Tian do this? Although in Feng Di's eyes, Xiao Yi is a bit weak, but to control Xiao Yi like this, even Feng Di wouldn't be able to do it, let alone Wang Debao and Bai Cixin. Chen Xuanzong, who was at the side, was stupefied. This man is too terrifying, isn't he? Xiao Yi's powerful spiritual energy disappeared in an instant. Qing Tian, you guys are ruthless. Xiao Yi's gaze was filled with unwillingness. I just reincarnated this morning, and I didn't expect that I would die in less than a day. Qing Tian took out a napkin, wiped the back of his hand, then folded it and said lightly, Xiao Yi, it's not that we are ruthless, but since we are already dead, why bother reincarnating? You know that we're going to capture those who reincarnated. Today, I, Xiao Yi, have nothing to say about falling into your hands, but I still have a request. Xiao Yi seemed to have given up on resisting, because the other party was too strong. Even without Qing Tian, there was still Feng Di. Qing Tian nodded his head. If I can do it, I will satisfy you. Destroy Voidless Realm, Xiao Yi said coldly. Qing Tian frowned, then raised his head and looked toward Xiao Yi. All right, I promise you. Give me a quick death. Xiao Yi slowly closed his eyes. There was a hint of exhaustion on his face. In the end, Xiao Yi was also a pitiful person. He only wanted the Xiao family to become stronger and for his wife and children to live a different life. Everyone had this kind of thought, but everyone's method was different. Xiao Yi was one of those people who chose the wrong method. If he had submitted to Death Mage right from the start, there wouldn't be such a situation right now. He might even be able to live happily with his family right now, and he might even have the chance to revive his wife. All right, I'll satisfy your request. Qing Tian smiled and pointed at Xiao Yi's forehead with his index finger. Xiao Yi trembled violently, and his skin turned gray. Then, he fell to the ground, lifeless. Xiao Yi's storage bag fell into the hands of heaven and earth. This rebirth usually brought along good things, just like the dragon blade that was given to him at level 100. Debao, you have to cut off what needs to be cut off, okay? Qing Tiandi reminded him. Oh, all right. Wang Debao said blankly. This move that Wang Debao had just performed had shocked everyone. Looking at Qing Tiandi said faintly, your performance today isn't good, so your distribution will be a bit less. Qing Tiandi didn't say anything, which could be considered as him agreeing. Wang Debao's performance is not bad, and his photography skills are also good. Qing Tiandi started a comment. Wang Debao laughed foolishly. I often help my wife take photos, so I practiced it. Bai Cixin glared at her husband. How can you say something like this? Haha, from now on, you will be the team's publicist. Qing Tiandi patted on Wang Debao's shoulder. This made Wang Debao a bit scared. The method that Qing Tiandi used to kill Xiao Yi was too terrifying. It was practically no different from killing an ant. Don't worry, I will do it well. Wang Debao said sincerely. That, is your team still lacking people? A soft voice sounded from the side. Chen Xuanzong could be seen walking over slowly. Just now, he saw Xiao Yi die, and his mood was very good. Although he wasn't taking revenge for himself, he still saw his enemy die. Qing Tiandi laughed loudly. You are most welcome. Thank you. Chen Xuanzong felt that he had found a team. This group of people is too strong. If I join them, I will definitely be able to kill that damn Long Outyin and save Qingya. In actuality, Chen Xuanzong was a bit scared because he had just heard a lot of things. If he were to leave just like that, he would most likely be killed. Knowing the strength of the other party, how would Chen Xuanzong dare to leave? Therefore, he could only request to join them. Furthermore, the other party's target seemed to be Voidless Realm. Just thinking about that long Out-Yin hiding in Voidless Realm made Chen Xuanzong tremble in anger. Qing Tiandi opened up his arms and shouted gravely, "From today onwards, our Justice Alliance will officially fire the first shot. Also, we welcome new comrades to join us. At such an exciting moment, we should go and do something. How about we grab some skewers?" Wang Debao suggested. Qing Tiandi nodded. "Good idea. However, it's the first day of Chinese New Year. There shouldn't be any restaurants that are open, right?" "I know a restaurant that is open. The chicken wings there are very delicious," Chen Xuanzong said. "After all, I have just joined them. It's not bad to treat them to supper." Qing Tiandi was very happy. "All right, let our new members lead the way. Then, how are we going to deal with Xiao Yi's corpse?" Wang Debao asked curiously. Qing Tiandi sighed lightly. "No matter what, we are still colleagues. Let's take a photo as a souvenir." "Everyone," Chen Xuanzong cursed in his heart. "Xiao Yi is already dead, and you are still taking a photo as a souvenir? Damn pervert." However, Qing Tiandi's move just now had indeed frightened everyone, and thus, no one dared to offend him. And the result was Chen Xuanzong and Wang Debao held on to Xiao Yi's corpse and had a big reunion. Then, Qing Tiandi burned Xiao Yi's corpse with fire. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I hope that Xiao Yi could be a good person in his next life and live a peaceful life. Those who died were all greedy people. Laowu Barbecue was quite famous in Zijin City. Even if it was the first night of Chinese New Year, the place would still be packed with people. The 6 members of Justice Alliance finally managed to get a seat. Chapter 568. Feng Tian and Feng Di remained silent. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin were already used to it, but Chen Xuanzong, who had just arrived, was not used to it. The weak are prey to the strong. The strong will naturally get it first. Chen Xuanzong said solemnly. Qing Tiandi patted onto Chen Xuanzong's shoulder and said earnestly, "Young man, your life is too short. If you were as long as me, you would understand." Seeing that Chen Xuanzong was unwilling to accept it, Qing Tiandi planned to use his own words to convince Chen Xuanzong, to let him understand that being long is very useful. The other 4 immediately ignored him. This Chen Xuanzong is going to be brainwashed again. Right now, the Cultivation World's forum was in an uproar. The Righteous Alliance had really destroyed Xiao Yi, and even insta-killed him. There's also a fellow who wore boxing gloves, and it seems like he was able to defeat Xiao Yi as well. This is truly terrifying. That previous post was immediately dug out by someone, and the number of comments reached several tens of thousands. The moderator even added a gem to the post. "Justice Alliance is too awesome. How do I join? I want to join too. My God, I want to join too. This is the place that I yearn for." That's right, Voidless Realm and Ing family don't care about anything. We might as well join this Justice Alliance. That's right, finally, a powerful organization stood out and ended this ridiculous monopoly. Only by joining the Justice Alliance can my life be guaranteed. I want to leave the South. I want to leave the North too. A large number of people who wanted to leave appeared on the Cultivation World's forum. Qing Tiandi was very satisfied with everyone's attitude. This is the right choice. There's no need to rely on those 2 big powers. Should I learn more about Justice Alliance? Within Voidless Realm, Yi Hua and his 2 wives were also looking at the post on the Cultivation World's forum, and they were a bit surprised. To Yi Hua, "This Qing Tiandi is not bad. He has some brains. I can play with you a bit. Bullying you with my strength is nothing. After all, we are all people who use brains. This Qing Tiandi is a schemer," Qing Yi said gravely while hugging onto her son who was sleeping soundly. Dongwang Baiji was also hugging onto Wali, who was sleeping soundly, and said in a low voice, "That's right, you exchanged Xiao Yi for such a great value." Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then said faintly, "This Xiao Yi killed so many people. Whoever acted to kill him would be a hero. Furthermore, the one who acted is an organization, and the one who instantly killed Xiao Yi is even more so an organization. Furthermore, This person's attitude is very good and down to earth. It would be weird if he didn't jump ship. Dongwang Baiji rolled her eyes at her husband. Then why are you still making us wait? If Xiao Yi is killed by us, wouldn't Voidless Realm's reputation become even greater? That's right, Qingyu said lightly. With regard to her husband, she was very confused. Women, your hair is long, but your knowledge is short. Yihua said indifferently. He was very pleased with himself. I just like to bully my wife. Qingyu and Dongwang Baiji immediately looked towards their husband. They seemed to be saying, try and teach us another lesson. Yihua stopped here and said softly, if we were to make a move, then what reason would they have to make a move? If they want to become famous, then we will give them a chance. Moreover, I'm afraid that Sky Pillar doesn't just need these. Then what does he want? Qingyu asked curiously. Yihua flicked away the ash on his cigarette, then took a puff and exhaled. The smoke lingered in the air, causing his two wives to wrinkle their brows. Some people like authority, some people like money, some people like supreme strength, and some people like to play. Hearing what her husband meant, Donghuang Baiji asked puzzledly, what kind of person is Sky Pillar? Play. This was what Qingyu felt. Yihua nodded his head, and this kind of person likes to be in control of the entire situation. They like the feeling of having everything in their hands, and they feel that this kind of person is very smart. Qingyu and Donghuang Baiji simultaneously looked towards Yihua, seemingly to be saying, isn't this you? Cough, 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 what are you looking at? Be careful that I don't slap the two of you. Yihua's expression became stiff. When a tiger doesn't show off, do you think that I'm a sick cat? The two of you are very arrogant, and have even learned to talk back to me. The two women snorted and began to lecture Yihua again. Having a husband like this is also a kind of helplessness. From the looks of it, hubby, you already have a plan? Dongwang Baiji asked. Yihua extinguished the cigarette, but of course, tell us. Let us listen to your plan. Qingyu was very curious. She wanted to hear what kind of plan her husband had come up with. Let nature take its course, Yihua said faintly, then stood up and walked back to his room to sleep, leaving his two wives to sit in the courtyard. Qingyu and Dongwang Baiji went into a daze for a moment, then shouted out, Yihua, will you die if you don't act cool? I will. At a remote mountainous area, smoke was currently emitting out from the chimney of a small thatch cottage. A change of clothes was hung on a rope outside the thatch cottage, and there were a few old hens inside the cage. The light in the small thatch cottage was still on. My little darling, do you want to sleep? Long Out-Yin could be seen leaning onto Meng Meng's stomach, wanting to listen to the child's voice. Meng Meng had been pregnant for around 6 months. During this period of time, Long Out-Yin had been taking care of his wife attentively and didn't have any thoughts of going out. Out-Yin, there are still a few more months, Meng Meng said happily. Because she felt that Long Out-Yin didn't have any thoughts of going out, it seemed like he could stay here and accompany her. Long Out-Yin was very excited as he gestured with his hands. I'm too excited. In a few more months, I will have a child, haha. All right, don't be so excited every day. Meng Meng laughed lightly and stroked her sideburns. Long Out-Yin retracted his excited expression. I really want to tell the whole world about this and share the joy of this moment. But there are only us here. Meng Meng let out a breath. Long Out-Yin suddenly thought of something. There is one more. Is it that person who is chasing after you? Yesterday, on Chinese New Year's Eve, I asked you to come over and have a meal with me, but you didn't want to. In any case, that person has been chasing after you for half a year. Long Out-Yin, I will go out for a while first. I'll be back soon. Be careful. If you can't win, just run back. Got it. Long Out-Yin ran madly. I haven't fought with that skeleton for a few months. I wonder if it is still there or not. I am coming. Long Out-Yin shouted out loudly. Swish! A black figure instantly appeared not far away from him. It was precisely Death Assassin. Death Assassin seemed to have been forgotten by everyone. Because Death Assassin had never completed this mission, he had always been guarding this place. Even on Chinese New Year's Eve, he was still leaning on a big tree and pondering about the future. Skeleton, my Dragon God technique is already at the 5th level. Today, let us properly play. Long Ao Ian's body trembled, and a burst of spiritual energy suddenly burst out from his body. Death Assassin looked at Long Ao Ian indifferently and let out a breath. GGG, Imperial Translation. Why aren't you dead yet? Chapter 569. Death Mage was helpless and could only pull out his blade and attack. I'll dodge again. You can't hit me. This is the new clothes that Meng Meng gave me, bastard. Stop. I admit defeat, big brother. Don't mess around, we can talk about it. Actually, I came here today to chat with you. GGG, Imperial Translation. There's nothing to talk about. I can't kill you. I can only wait for you to die. After that, I can go back and report back. Seeing that the skeletons stopped attacking, Long Ao Ian let out a light sigh. In this godforsaken place, other than Meng Meng, there's only you. I can't even find someone to talk to. GGG, Imperial Translation. At least you have a woman to accompany you. I don't have anything at all. Long Ao Ian also felt that the skeleton wasn't here to kill him, but to trap him here. Thus, he wasn't that afraid. Sitting on the rock, he supported his back with both of his hands and looked at the starry sky. Let me tell you a good news. I'm going to be a father. Long Ao Ian said lightly. Death Assassin stood at the side and didn't speak. I still haven't thought of what to name my child. The name that Meng Meng thought of is too sissy. I feel that it should be more domineering. Skeleton, what do you think would be more domineering? That's right. You don't even know how to speak. Speaking of which, at least I have Meng Meng to accompany me. You don't even have anyone to accompany you. You are even more pitiful than me. Today is also the first day of Chinese New Year. Do you want to go to my house to eat something? I also have chicken drumsticks. How about it? Hearing that there wasn't any movement behind him, Long Ao Ian turned his head around and saw that Death Assassin was nowhere to be seen. Letting out a deep sigh, Long Ao Ian walked back to his house. Death Assassin, who was not far away, looked at Long Ao Ian's back view and slowly sat down. Leaning against a big tree, he looked at the boundless starry sky. When will it end? I really miss the days in the past. Long Ao Ian, who returned to the small thatched cottage, shook his head. Ao Ian, that assassin isn't coming? Meng Meng asked. He might feel embarrassed. Meng Meng nodded her head. He is too pitiful. He has been guarding you for more than half a year, and he doesn't even have anyone to talk to. Yeah, forget it. Let's not talk about him. Let's go to sleep. Long Ao Ian's state of mind had indeed changed a lot. He was no longer as impetuous as he used to be. He had become more down-to-earth, and the idea of having multiple wives and concubines had disappeared with the birth of his child. His current life was the real deal. If Xiao Yi had the same thoughts as Long Ao Tian, he wouldn't have died so miserably. This Long Ao Tian was a big winner in life. He had a wife and a child, and he even had Death Mage as a sparring partner. However, if he wanted to leave the mountain, he would have to defeat the Death Mage first. However, being able to defeat the Death Mage, this Long Ao Ian was already very awesome. In the God's Realm's heavenly palace, two men dressed in ordinary clothes were walking on a lifeless street. Some of the shop doors were still open, but they were already covered in dust. A few months ago, this was a bustling street, but now it had become like this. Chief Steward Su, what do you think everyone is? Beside him was a man of medium build. His name was Wang Hong, and in front of him was Lingdu's inner minister, Su Shun. Su Shun silently sized them up. His expression was very grave. This battle should have happened outside the city, but the terrain outside the city had already changed beyond recognition. This should be a very powerful sovereign. Seeing that Chief Steward did not say anything, Wang Hong said again, even if these people died, they should have left behind a trace of blood. Chief Steward, look, even the teacups are still there. Could it be that they evaporated? Actually, the two of them had already been in Heavenly Palace for a few days, and they had been collecting evidence. However, they did not manage to find anything. It seems like all the evidence had been erased. If there is no evidence to bring back this time, I'm afraid it will be hard to explain to Spirit Emperor. Su Shun lightly sighed. This time, Spirit Emperor had given a death order They must definitely find out the cause of this matter. It would be good if there was a person involved. This group of people really did not let a single one of them off. They're trying to silence them. Wang Hong could not bear to see this. This imperial city has at least a few million people. This is too vicious. Indeed, extremely vicious. Su Shan nodded his head in agreement. All right, Chief Steward Su, these few days I also discovered a very strange matter. What matter? Chief Steward Su, please follow me. The two of them flew towards the horizon, heading towards the outside of the city. Chief Steward Su, look at this trace of fire coming from the horizon. Wang Hong said as he pointed towards the horizon. Didn't we already discuss this matter? Is the Inferno Abyssal Dragon? Su Shan said doubtfully. Wang Hong said gravely. That's right, it is indeed the Inferno Abyssal Dragon. But Chief Steward Su, look at the trace. I'm afraid that there is more than one of them. More than one? What proof do you have? Chief Steward Su, look below. Although there are a lot of cracks, look at those claw marks. Su Shan's gaze narrowed, and he flew down with Wang Hong. This. Su Shan tightly knitted his brows. He was very puzzled. Wang Hong said gravely, Chief Steward Su, I am also very puzzled. The posture of the Inferno Abyssal Dragon is simply too strange from the angle of the claw marks, and the number of them. There are a total of 3 of them, but they seem to be surrounding each other. Su Shan added. Wang Hong nodded his head. Then here comes the question. Why are the 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons surrounding each other? Chief Steward Su, the origin of this Inferno Abyssal Dragon is not small. It is a prehistoric beast. Even an overlord can't do anything to it, let alone a deity from a small place like this. But the strange thing is, the Inferno Abyssal Dragon only seems to be standing here and did not participate in the battle. Wang Hong was very vexed. He was unable to figure out the reason, no matter how hard he racked his brains. The person who is able to control 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons must be very powerful. As for why the Inferno Abyssal Dragons did not participate in the battle, it should be because they were called over to intimidate. As for why they are surrounding each other, I really have no idea. Su Shan shook his head. This question was too hard to figure out. Chief Steward Su, this overlord is most likely very powerful. We should immediately go back and report to Spirit Emperor. We must not provoke him. 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons are completely capable of destroying the entire Spirit City, unless over 10 overlords come to suppress him together. Hearing that, Su Shan sunk into contemplation. Right now, I can only go back and report to Spirit Emperor that this overlord is very powerful, able to even call over the Inferno Abyssal Dragons. But just which overlord is this powerful? A beep suddenly rang out. Su Shan took out the jade slip and looked at it. His face was instantly filled with shock and even fear. Chief Steward Su, what happened? Seeing Chief Steward Su's expression, Wang Hong definitely knew that something big had happened. Su Shan put away the jade slip and said in a deep voice, Supreme Fa Lien was killed. His void land was also burned by a fire, and it was Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire. Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire? Isn't that Supreme Yuan Yang's ultimate move? Wang Hong was also shocked. Supreme Yuan Yang killed Supreme Fa Lien? Oh my god, how is this possible? Chapter 570. Yihua wouldn't release Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire for no reason. In actuality, he could have directly killed Sovereign Fa Lien, and Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire was meant to frame him. After all, Sun Meteorite Heavenly Fire was one of a kind. Even if that Sovereign Yuan Yang had more than 10 mouths, he wouldn't be able to explain it clearly. We have to quickly return to Lingdu. Something big is going to happen. Su Shan's expression tensed up. Sovereign killing sovereigns is incredible. If the sovereign's nature is bad, then everyone will be killed, just like that battle 5 years ago. The two didn't think too much and immediately disappeared from where they stood. A conspiracy that came from Yihua is going to attack God's realm. Framing others, Yihua is playing very well right now. On the morning of the 2nd day of Chinese New Year, Yihua heard the report from Brett. I didn't expect that Voidless Realm's target is actually voidless realm. Interesting, what a bold idea. Towards such a matter, Yihua wished for them to come earlier, but he felt that they might not be able to come. Should I give them some motivation? Yihua, let's go. Qingya carried her son and walked over. To where? Of course, to go to my father-in-law's place. Aren't we supposed to return to our parents' place on the second day of Chinese New Year? To be honest, Yihua didn't want to go to his father-in-law's place at all. Looking at her husband's unwilling look, Qingya still doesn't know that Yihua's identity is right there. Even I can't do anything about it. But no matter what, they are still my parents. Yihua, I'm just going to take a seat. There is no need for you to give me a red packet. Yihua, is this a problem with a red packet? Do I look like such a petty person? Hubby, Qingya begged. Speaking of which, my parents have only met Yihua once, and that time was very unpleasant. Now that the child has already been born, there shouldn't be anything to say, right? Go, Yihua said gravely. This human custom is truly troublesome. After Baiji's child is born, I will consider going back too. So obedient. Let me reward you, Qingya kissed Yihua. However, Yihua didn't just want to kiss her. The little fellow laid in his mother's embrace and looked at his parents' actions with his big eyes filled with curiosity. The two of them returned to Leisure Bar and woke up Qing Yutong, who was sleeping soundly. Going back to Leisure Bar by plane was a bit slow, so it was better to directly return to Leisure Bar. Aya, my little nephew, let in hug you. You're so handsome. Qing Yutong carried Yi Yin into her bosom, and the little fellow was a little unhappy because this aunt of his keeps pinching his face. So Yin reached out to his mother and squeaked, "Little guy, you're not even willing to let your aunt hug you. Be careful that you don't get a girlfriend in the future." When Yin saw how fierce his aunt was, he immediately burst into tears. Qingya took a glare at her little sister, then hugged onto her son and coaxed him. Yihua, who was at the side, said gravely, "What are boys crying for? If I see you cry again, I'll lock you up." Yi Yin immediately stopped crying, but he did not dare to look at his father. "I have only been out for a day, and I don't even have the right to cry anymore." She felt that her father was super nice to her sister, but he was extremely fierce to her. It was as if she was a gift for topping up her phone. "Yihua, it hasn't even been 2 days since Yin arrived. Can't you speak properly?" Qingya was trying her best to protect her son, not letting Yihua bully her son. The little fellow needs to be educated since he was young. That doesn't mean that he should be taught like this. Can't he be a little more patient? Qingya persuaded, hoping that Yihua would not be so fierce towards his son. Yihua was angry towards his son. After all, the main culprit that scared Yihua quite badly that night was this little fellow. Qing Yutong did not say anything at the side. It is better for me to not interrupt this kind of topic. Arriving at the door of his father-in-law's house, Yihua was empty-handed. He did not bring anything with him. "I, the Supreme Overlord, have already given enough face by coming here, and you still want to bring things? I, the Supreme Overlord, have never brought anything with me." A few gift boxes could be seen appearing in Qingya's hands. "Yihua, take them." Qing Yutong, who was at the side, said, "Brother-in-law, just take them and put them in. Just put them in." Yihua felt that he was going to go crazy. Baiji is still the best. She doesn't even have any elders. Taking a deep breath, Yihua said gravely, "Just this once." All right, just this once." Qingya spoiled Yihua. If it was any other woman, they would have already gotten angry at him. Holding onto the gift boxes with both hands, Qing Yutong pressed on the doorbell. The one who came out to open the door was still Uncle Fu. "The two misses have returned. Mr. is also back. Is this the young master?" When Uncle Fu saw Yi Yin, he cried out in surprise. Qingya laughed. "Uncle Fu, Happy New Year, this is my son, Yi Yin. It really is the young master. Quickly come in. The madams will definitely be very happy." Because Qingya was carrying the child, Qing Yutong prepared slippers for brother-in-law. This scene made Uncle Fu recall the scene from that day. Just that, he became the second miss. How can this man be so awesome? Yihua, who was holding onto the gift boxes, followed behind, appearing a bit unnatural. Walking into the living room, Qing Huaxian saw that his two daughters had returned, and he was happy in his heart. However, When he saw Yi Hua, who was at the back, that happy expression of his immediately collapsed. Seeing Qing Huashuan's attitude, Yi Hua did not pay attention to him. This is? Zihan suddenly stood up and looked at the child who was in her daughter's embrace. With a smile on her face, Qingya said, "Mom, this is my son, Yi Yin. Aya, quickly let Mom take a look. You already gave birth to the child. Why didn't you give us a call?" Zihan carefully took over Yi Yin. However, not long later, Yi Yin started crying loudly. That heart-wrenching cry was as if he was going to die soon. Wang Muqing, who was at the side, took over Yi Yin and tried, but who knew that it was also useless. In the end, Wang Muqing still handed Yi Yin over Qingya. Just when Yi Yin entered Qingya's embrace, he instantly stopped crying. Yi Hua looked at his son's gaze and praised. "Brat, you did well." Seeing his father's praising gaze, the corner of the little fellow's mouth curved up. Then, he hid in his mother's embrace and refused to come out, because his mother's embrace was too warm. Qing Huaxian looked at the gift box in Yi Hua's hand and was also filled with disdain. "My Qing family is no longer the same as before. Right now, I'm also a reputable person in Zijin City. Back then when I went to see the Empress, everything that I did after that was smooth sailing." As for Qingya, her change was really too big. No one knew that she was Qing Huashuan's daughter, and furthermore, both father and daughter did not appear in public at the same time, so no one knew at all. If other people were to know that Qingya's father was Qing Huaxian, that would really be terrible. Qing Huashuan's vanity would definitely go berserk. Chapter 571. Yi Hua sit. Qingya said softly. Seeing that her husband's expression was not very good, she reckoned that it was because of her father. Her father did not know of Yi Hua's identity and thought that he was just a bar's boss. It was unavoidable for him to look down on Yi Hua. "After all, I am too perfect, I'm so beautiful, and I'm also so rich, sigh. Beauty is also a kind of sin." If not for giving face to his wife and sister-in-law, just by looking at Qing Huashuan's expression, Yi Hua would have already turned around and left. When have I, the supreme overlord, been looked down upon like this? Which one of them wasn't trembling in fear under my feet? Slowly sitting down, Yi Hua still did not say a word. This caused Qing Huaxian and the others to be very unhappy. "At least greet him." From the moment he walked in, he did not speak. "How can this be? Could it be that you are waiting for the elders to greet you?" Qing Huaxian must let this man know that Qing family is very powerful right now. "Xiaoyi, are you still running a bar?" Qing Huaxian leaned on the comfortable sofa and asked curiously. "Xiaoyi?" Yi Hua was immediately stupefied. Qingya and Qing Yutong were also extremely shocked. A supreme overlord was actually called Xiaoyi by an ordinary person. This is something that has never happened before. Right now, Yi Hua felt as if he was going to explode. If not for Qingya's father, this person would have already disappeared by now. To actually be so rude to me. "Xiaoyi." Yi Hua was so angry that he almost suffered an internal injury. Qingya, who was at the side, secretly held onto Yi Hua's hand. "Don't be angry. Father didn't do it on purpose." With his wife's consolation, Yi Hua felt a bit better. Seeing that Yi Hua's expression was very bad, Qing Huaxian was very satisfied. "Compared to my Qing family, that little bar of yours is really nothing. I can make you close down in just a few minutes." "Xiaoyi, business is not good these days. How much money can a bar earn? If you really can't do it, you can go and help out at Qingya's company." Qing Huaxian said very seriously. "Now that I already have a child, there is no other way. Although this man is a bit lacking, if I teach him properly, he will still have a future." Luckily, Qing Huaxian did not say such words. If not, Yi Hua would definitely explode. However, it is more or less the same now. To actually say that I can earn a bit of money, and even want me to go and work in my wife's company. "Dad, it is quite good for Yi Hua to open a bar. There is no need for that." Qingya hurriedly mediated the situation and told her dad to stop talking about it. If not, Yi Hua would definitely quarrel with her. But how could Qing Huaxian understand his daughter's meaning? Furthermore, seeing how his daughter was defending a man like this, he became even angrier. Xiaoyi, life is not that easy. There are a lot of things that young people like you two simply do not understand. This world is also not as simple as the two of you think. After finished speaking, Qing Huaxian actually displayed the sitting posture of a big shot. Why does Yihua feel that this sitting posture is very similar to mine? When Qing Yutong heard what her father said, she had a hard time enduring it. Father is actually acting cool in front of brother-in-law? Ha! It was too funny. Qingya also had a helpless look on her face. What should I do now? My father is actually getting complacent. Suddenly, an idea came to Qingya's mind. As long as I coax Yihua, everything will be fine. Thus, Qingya secretly sent a message to Yihua. What? Yihua asked coldly. Hubby, don't be angry. My dad didn't do it on purpose. Qingya pleaded. Yihua snorted. If it was on purpose, I, the Supreme Overlord, would have flipped out long ago. Hubby, don't be angry. I will properly serve you tonight. What else could Qingya do? She could only give Yihua what he wanted the most. As expected, after hearing Qingya's promise, Yihua's anger dissipated by quite a bit. Any position is fine, and as long as you don't get angry, it's up to you. All right, you're the one who said it. And I said it. Qingya was helpless. However, it is fine as long as I coax my husband. Ever since Donghuang Baiji announced that she was pregnant, Yihua had been living a simple life, which was too horrible to look at. Right now, Qingya took the initiative to woo him, causing Yihua's mood to become very good. The gaze that Yihua looked at Qing Huaxian with also became a lot friendlier, seemingly saying, Your daughter is not bad, to be able to serve me very comfortably. Oh, is there anything else that I don't know? Yihua began asking along with Qing Huaxuan's words. To act cool in front of me. Only you're still alive. Qing Huaxian laughed, seemingly laughing at Yihua's ignorance. However, the current Yihua didn't care about it. He just wished for this night to arrive faster. I have endured for more than a month, and I'm already about to explode. There are some things that are useless even if I tell you. I am afraid of scaring you youngsters. Qing Yutong finally couldn't take it anymore and laughed out loud while hugging onto her stomach. Dad, can you not be so funny? Don't you know that boasting in front of the Supreme Overlord is very embarrassing? Qing also laughed out loud. It's fine if my husband likes to act cool, but now, even my father has fallen in love with him. I hope that my son doesn't have to study and just become a scientist in the future. Wang Muqing patted on her daughter petulantly. Yutong, what are you laughing at when your father is talking to you? Nothing much. I just thought of a very funny thing and couldn't help but laugh. While speaking, Qing Yutong laughed even louder. However, in Qing Huaxuan's eyes, Qing Yutong's smile looked as if Qing Yutong did not believe in him, and Qing Yutong felt as if he was lying to them. Yihua said faintly, I've never been scared before. Why don't you tell me if you're able to scare me or not? All right, then, I shall let you youngsters gain some experience. Qing Huaxuan's eyebrows straightened as he shouted out solemnly. This caused Qing Yutong to laugh to the point that she couldn't breathe. Yutong, you are too impolite. Wang Muqing lectured her own daughter. Qing Yutong finally couldn't hold it in anymore and was prepared to listen to how her father was going to scare people. Qing Huaxian glared at his daughter, then said gravely, In this world, there's a group of people who know magic, formidable right, the kind that can fly to the sky and dive into the earth. Looking at Qing Huaxuan's serious look, Yihua and the others were a bit surprised. Such a small matter, and it was turned into a big matter by your expression. Not bad. Qing Huaxian was very satisfied with this expression. It seems like my words had already subdued these youngsters. Just this north of mine, there are a lot of powers that exist. My Qing family can also be considered as a mainstay. This time, even Qing started laughing out loud. Seeing that her big sister couldn't hold it in anymore, Qing Yutong also started laughing out loud. Dad is too good at acting. When did Qing family become a mainstay? You must be lying to a child. This is too exaggerated, right? Right now, Qing family can basically not be counted as a family at all, because Qing Huaxian doesn't know anything, thus he can't be selected. Looking at the attitude of his two daughters, Qing Huaxian was very angry and said gravely, Do you guys know? I'm the strongest person that I have ever seen in the North. Empress. Do you know what is an empress? She controls the entire North's powers, and with a single sentence, she is able to change a person's fate. What do youngsters know? Ha 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 ha. Asking for tickets. Chapter 572. Qinya and Qin Yutong were about to cramp up from laughing. Even Yi Hua had a trace of a smile on his face. This Qinya's father is too funny. It seems that the last time when Baiji came over for the big meeting, because she met Qin Yutong like this, her entire person became inflated to the sky. Indeed, ever since Qin Huaxian met the Empress, he went around flaunting his glorious history, and the Empress especially gave him face. The people who were at the scene back then also felt a little bit, and adding on to Qin Huaxuan's words, they had no choice but to believe him. Thus, their attitude towards Qin Huaxian changed 180 degrees. What are you laughing at? I still have evidence here. Qin Huaxian said gravely. This youngster actually doesn't believe me. Evidence? Yi Hua and the others went into a daze for a moment. They were very curious about what evidence it was. Dad, let me take a look at the Empress that you're talking about. Qin Yutong asked, but her smile became even wider. That has changed. Qin Huaxian took out his phone and found a photo. Look, this is a photo of me and the Empress. A photo? Yi Hua and Qinya were very surprised. I don't remember taking a photo with the Empress that day. Could it be that the photo was taken privately? Dongwang Baiji doesn't seem to have mentioned it before, right? Qin Yutong took the photo over, and Yi Hua and Qinya looked over as well. In the photo, Dongwang Baiji could be seen standing leisurely, and Qin Huaxian was respectfully standing at the side. However, if one were to take a closer look, the Dongwang Baiji in the photo looked a bit strange, as if the photo was photoshopped. Qinya felt very helpless. My dad actually used this kind of photo to bluff me. In actuality, Qin Huaxian wasn't bluffing. He just felt that it was very glorious for him to have met the Empress, and thus he asked someone to Photoshop a photo to prove that he was someone who had met the Empress before. Look at you. If you have even half of her elegance, your father will be at ease. Qin Huaxian sighed lightly. My daughter's appearance is on par with the Empress, but in terms of temperament, she is a bit inferior. After hearing that, Yi Hua immediately laughed. Well said. Qinya, did you hear that? Learn more from the Empress. Yi Hua patted on Qinya's shoulder and teased. Speaking of aura, Dongwang Baiji was indeed a notch higher than Qinya. Back then, the two women had also displayed their aura in front of Yi Hua. Dongwang Baiji's aura was very big, while Qinya's aura did not have that kind of aura. Qinya was that kind of gentle and beautiful type. Even if she had a straight face, it would not have that kind of strong effect. On the other hand, Dongwang Baiji was different. When Dongwang Baiji put on a straight face, she looked very scary. However, when Dongwang Baiji smiled, Dongwang Baiji seemed like a completely different person. Yi Hua had even secretly asked the Empress to put on a straight face, and then it felt really good. Qinya glared at Yi Hua petulantly. I have been using this matter to tease myself quite a bit. Yi Hua's attitude made Qin Huaxian a bit unhappy. I am teaching my daughter. What are you interrupting for? Little Yi, you have to change too. You is so outstanding. You have to become even more outstanding. Qinya felt great in her heart. This is what a father should be like. Yi Hua, did you hear that? You have to become even more outstanding. Qinya launched a counterattack, causing Yi Hua to be very displeased. Am I not outstanding? In this entire world, I am unable to find another man who is as outstanding as me. Yi Hua did not say anything. I'll just quietly listen to you two bragging. I, the Supreme Overlord, am not going to bother with you two today. Qin Huaxian let out a light sigh. Actually, it's also good if it's a bit more ordinary. It's better for us to not get involved in that kind of world too much. The competition is too serious. And I'm afraid that if I were to say it out, I'm afraid that I would scare you all. Yi Hua and the others did not say anything. All right, it's better for me to tell you too, so that you too could be a bit more vigilant. Qin Huaxian was unable to contain himself. Do you think that if you don't say anything, I won't scare you too? Don't be so childish, all right? I heard that during this period of time, both the North and the South are not safe, especially the North where a lot of people have died. You too have to pay attention. Don't get dragged into the matter. Qing Huaxian suddenly thought of something and asked gravely, Qingya Yutong, how did the two of you get dragged into the matter of those big shots? Last time, the Empress even asked me about this matter. The two of you better explain it to me clearly, just what exactly happened that night. This matter had been bothering Qing Huaxian for a long time. Luckily, the Empress did not pursue the matter that night. Although it was a bit strange, it was also a good thing. If the Empress were to pursue the matter, Qing family would be in trouble. In actuality, it was useless to ask about it now. Yi Xiao was already dead, and his son and the medical saint were still standing at the side of the small road like a tree. Qing Yutong explained, Dad, that night, that medical saint's song brought us to participate in the auction, but in the end he ran away by himself, causing Big Sister and I to be very embarrassed. He is truly shameless. And then, did you see anything else? Qing Huaxian questioned. Qing Yutong was a movie empress. Her acting skills were top-notch. Qing Yutong shook her head hesitantly. Qing Huaxian felt that it was true. My two daughters are so obedient. They don't even dare to kill a chicken. So why would they go and kill a person? This is too unreal. And this man, I reckon that he doesn't even dare to hold a knife. He is so weak. After finish asking this question, Zihan also began asking, You two have already given birth to your child, and you two have also gotten your marriage certificate. When do you two plan to hold the wedding? Wedding? If not for her mother mentioning it, Qingya would have almost forgotten that Yi Hua still owed her a wedding. Yi Hua had also completely forgotten about it. I indeed still owe Qingya a wedding. Qingya hugged on her son and said a bit angrily, Ask him. Everyone looked towards Yi Hua. This Qingya, she is definitely angry with me again. In actuality, Yi Hua wanted to give them an unprecedented wedding, and not this kind of ordinary and completely meaningless wedding. Right now, not only do I have to give Qingya's family an explanation, I also have to give Qingya an explanation. Rest assured, there will definitely be a wedding. Everyone nodded their heads. A man should take responsibility. After hearing that, Qingya was also very happy. As long as Yi Hua promised, he would definitely fulfill his promise in the future. Although it was no longer just a single person's wedding, Qingya was already relieved. For such a powerful man like Yi Hua, it was normal for him to have two women, but it was impossible for him to have one more. Following that, everyone chatted about their daily lives, and Yi Hua's attitude seemed to have been accepted. And what else could they do even if they didn't accept it? However, everyone's muzzle turned towards Qing Yutong. Yutong, your big sister already has a child now. When do you plan to settle your personal problem? As Qing Yutong's mother, Wang Muqing was also very anxious. However, Qing Yutong had an indifferent attitude and even said, It's fine, brother-in-law will help me look for one. He already promised me. In her heart, she was thinking, but is already brother-in-laws. Who else am I going to look for? In this lifetime, I will just hug brother-in-law's thigh and not let go. Qing Huaxian had to dispel this idea of his daughters. What kind of people can the bar boss know? All of them are just some unimportant people. Chapter 573. No, I'm not going to go on a blind date. I'm going upstairs to sleep, bye-bye. After finished speaking, Qing Yutong ran upstairs. Wang Muqing let out a light sigh, feeling very helpless. Properly persuade your sister. Don't always be like this. In a few years' time, she will be in her 30s at that time. No one will want her anymore. Zihan said gravely. Qingya laughed lightly. With Yutong's looks, are you afraid that you won't be able to find her? Yi Hua, don't you think so? And that's right. Yi Hua nodded his head, feeling that there was a hidden meaning behind Qingya's words. Everyone helplessly shook their heads. Regarding Qing Yutong's personal problems, they were also having a headache. Our daughter is so beautiful. What if other people covet her beauty? Thinking about it, I really don't feel at ease. At 9 p.m., Yi Hua and Qingya returned to the room. Qingyu was carrying her son with her back, facing Yihua, and was currently feeding the child. Yihua took out a red packet, opened it, and counted it. This family is quite generous. I quite like them. This is the first time I've seen a check inside a red packet. Interesting, as expected of a rich family. Just as Yihua was sighing with emotion, a small hand instantly snatched over the check. They are quite generous. They even gave you a big red packet. Qingyu looked at the red packet with a smile and even blinked her beautiful eyes at Yihua. The little fellow, Yin, had eaten his fill and was sleeping peacefully. Yihua's brows wrinkled. "What are you doing? Give it to me. This is mine." "Humph, I'm not giving it to you. This man will become bad when he has money." Qingyu mercilessly took away the check, not giving Yihua any private money. Yihua also mercilessly hugged onto Qingyu's body. "Where did you hear such crooked logic from?" "What? Only you are allowed to have crooked logic, but I'm not allowed to have crooked logic," Qingyu said. Her tone carried a hint of acting coquettishly, causing Yihua's heart to thump. This Qingyu is truly becoming more and more enchanting. Every single action of hers is emitting out a different kind of charm. "Today you promised me all kinds of positions," Yihua said lightly. He was already unable to hold himself back anymore. Qingyu's face turned red. "Our son is still asleep. Next time." "Hee. I will not allow you to do it again," Yihua sneered, then carried Qingyu and disappeared from the room, arriving at the bedroom on the second floor. Qingyu hurriedly said, "Our son is still on the bed. Don't worry about him. No one can hurt our son." After saying that, she kissed him, appearing very greedy. It had been a very long time since Qingyu and Yihua had gotten intimate with each other. The fire within the two's heart was instantly ignited, and the two of them fell onto the big bed, crazily enjoying the pleasure within. Only when it was 3 a.m. in the morning did the two of them return back to Qing family. Qingyu was completely exhausted, to the point that she didn't even want to move her fingers. Yihua was still clearly very excited, and he was completely unable to fall asleep. Furthermore, he even had the feeling of wanting to continue. It was a pity that Qingyu's battle power was not good enough. Should he seek out the Empress to resolve this matter? However, after thinking about it, he decided not to. It was already too late. Even if he went, the Empress would not allow it. It was impossible to communicate with a pregnant woman. Leaning on the bed, Yihua looked at his wife and son, and he was very satisfied with the current situation. If it wasn't for the fact that I have yet to take revenge, it would be good for me to continue living like this. Gradually, Yihua sunk into contemplation. Last year, a lot of things happened, and the people in the cultivation world also suffered heavy losses. Of course, this was not my fault. It was all because of them killing each other, or maybe they were just asking for it. I just slightly provoked them, that's all. However, no matter what, I am still able to see the big picture, and it will be helpful for my future battles. However, here comes the problem. After losing so many cultivators, where am I going to go to make up for the lack of cultivators? With less people, the game doesn't seem to be fun anymore. The power of the entire cultivation world has fallen too much, and this is something that I didn't expect. How am I going to pull up the number of cultivators? This is a problem. Furthermore, that Justice and Order Alliance, or whatever, I reckon that they want to form their own faction. I, the Supreme Overlord, should grant them a wish. How am I going to increase the number of cultivators? Yihua's brain quickly pondered. Earth's spiritual energy has dried up, causing ordinary people to be unable to sense it at all, and the powerful cultivators were able to absorb the meager amount of spiritual energy, causing the state of lacking spiritual energy. If I am able to envelop the entire world with spiritual energy, then a large number of cultivators will appear. Yihua felt that this idea was not bad. Cultivating is to strengthen one's body, and one's lifespan will also increase. Humans, you all should really be thankful for my benevolent heart. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth. He had already decided on what to do. Yihua left a mirror image on the bed to prevent it from being discovered by Qingyu. Some things still have to be done secretly. I, the Supreme Overlord, never leave my name behind when doing good deeds, and even if I leave my name behind, it would only be a bad name. Right now, Yihua had arrived 10,000 meters above the ground and was looking down at the entire world. As long as Yihua willed it, Sunfall Heavenly Fire would be able to turn the entire world into a sea of flames. Yihua's hands could be seen condensing a huge amount of spiritual pressure, and the entire sky seemed to be trembling. At this moment, a lot of people felt that a terrifying amount of spiritual energy was slowly condensing, and some of them even thought that it was the end of the world. Because a spiritual pressure like this wasn't something that a human would be able to withstand. Yihua laughed lightly. "You all should really be thankful to me. I am the one who granted you all longevity and health. Of course, there's also death and despair. It all depends on how you all choose. Spiritual energy shall awaken." Along with Yihua's hands clenching, the huge amount of spiritual pressure in his hands exploded, forming a lump of white spiritual energy that enveloped the entire world. After doing all that, Yihua disappeared from the sky. Hugging onto his wife and son, he went to sleep. "I am really curious about how the world will be like tomorrow. I am really so excited." However, right now it was raining heavily outside, and of course, there was also the boundless spiritual energy that was lingering in the air. That dense spiritual energy was currently changing their physique. Even if they don't cultivate, their lifespan would still be doubled, and their immune system would also be very strong. Thus, it was impossible for them to catch a cold. Of course, to the cultivation world, all of this could be counted as good, but overall speaking, it was still not good. To them, this amount of spiritual energy was already enough. No matter how much spiritual energy they were given, it would be useless. The more spiritual energy is, the more precious it is. This logic was known to everyone. Right now, with how abundant spiritual energy was, wouldn't it mean that everyone would be able to cultivate? If that was the case, where would the status of the cultivation world be? For a special existence to return back to its ordinary state, wasn't this just asking for people's lives? Indeed, this move of Yihua's made the people in the cultivation world very vexed. Even the most ordinary cultivator would be respected and worshipped by others. But right now, that was something that couldn't be any more normal. Who would still worship and worship him? However, to the powerful cultivators, this was still a good thing, because more people would respect them, and they wouldn't have to follow the rules set by the big shots, and they would be able to openly walk on the streets of the city. In just one night, Yihua had once again disrupted the situation in the cultivation world. Chapter 574. Winter. Jingshan had long walked out of his room and was currently looking at the sky with his brows tightly knitted. Why did spiritual energy suddenly recover? How did this happen? Also, what's with that huge spiritual pressure? Could it be a supreme overlord? If it really is a supreme overlord, then isn't this too powerful? To be able to cause spiritual energy to recover with just a raise of his hand. This is terrifying. However, whether this spiritual energy recovery is a good thing or a bad thing, Jingshan doesn't know, but he has a feeling that it isn't a good thing. Meanwhile, in Voidless Realm, Dongwang Baiji was also startled awake by that terrifying spiritual pressure, and even though there was a barrier, she could still feel it. This spiritual energy recovery is too strange and too sudden. There are no signs at all. And who is the one who released that terrifying spiritual pressure? Is it a human or the heavens? Dongwang Baiji immediately thought of her husband. Could it be Yihua? It can't be. Is he that powerful? Tomorrow, I will ask Qinya and find out. However, regarding the spiritual energy recovery, Dongwang Baiji also didn't know how to deal with it because the situation changed too quickly and she didn't even have the time to prepare. Within Wang family's villa in Harbor City, the people from Justice Alliance also felt it. So powerful, is this the doing of a human, or something else? Wang Debeo looked at the sky and muttered. Feng Tian also revealed a shocked expression. That spiritual pressure just now caused me to be unable to breathe, and it exploded in an instant, causing boundless spiritual energy to fall along with the rain. Just what's going on? God supporting heaven looked at the sky and didn't say a word. With regards to the current situation, I feel that this should be a good thing. Chen Xuanzong said faintly. With the spiritual energy recovery, a large number of cultivators will appear, and when that time comes, will there still be a lack of people? Bai Cixin felt that it was the same. Strength can only be displayed when there are more people. God supporting heaven let out a light sigh. The spiritual energy recovery, this time, messed up all of my plans. Is this man-made, or is it a random variable? God supporting heaven can't be sure. From the looks of it, Yihua won the first round of brain power competition and completely messed up God supporting heaven's plan. Since the spiritual energy has recovered, then let us follow the will of the heavens and thoroughly spread the influence of Justice Alliance. Gather all the heroes in the world. Qing Tian shouted as his confidence returned. Everyone couldn't help but nod their heads. God supporting heaven's expression gradually calmed down, and he asked curiously, will Mate Wan deliver on the second night of the new year? Everyone within Long and City's winery, currently, Jiu Yi wasn't asleep at all. On the contrary, he was excitedly standing under the heavy rain, and his expression was a bit strange. He looked like he was nervous, but also seemed like he was excited. After a long time, Lord Jiu finally calmed down. He raised his head slightly and looked toward the sky. God, you finally opened your eyes. Is this the smell of spiritual qi? I, Lord Jiu, have finally made a comeback. Ha 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 ha. Lord Jiu ran madly under the torrential rain, as if he had gone mad. He arrived under a big tree, and Lord Jiu placed his palm on it. A burst of blue light scanned it. The ground beside them suddenly caved in, revealing a flight of stairs. A row of lights instantly lit up. Lord Jiu walked down the stairs. After walking for about 10 meters, Lord Jiu arrived at his own secret room and clapped his hands. The voice-activated lights were all turned on. If there was someone here, they would definitely be stunned by the things that Lord Jiu had collected. Lord Jiu had worked for various masters, and all the rewards he had received were all here. Lord Jiu had thought that he would never be able to use them in this lifetime, because some things needed to be powered by spiritual energy. Now that the spiritual energy had recovered and he had the strength, these treasures could finally be put to use. Lord Jiu could be seen admiring his treasures and casually picking up an ancient sword. Lord Jiu coldly snorted. Ancient godly item. I, Lord Jiu, have no interest in it. There were even fragments of ancient godly items, spiritual herbs, and so on placed at the side. These were all rewards given by Lord Jiu's previous masters. This also showed that Lord Jiu's previous masters were indeed valiant. They could casually give out such good things. This lord also chooses his masters. Do you think that anyone can be my master? You are thinking too much. In the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean, Qi Shu Wen had transformed into a small golden dragon and was currently devouring all kinds of fishes. When will this end? I have a huge debt. Luckily, I obtained the longevity fruit, or else I would have suffered a huge loss. I originally wanted to get first place, but Xian Ba is really too valiant. Just as Qi Shu Wen was lamenting, he suddenly felt a sense of danger coming from behind him. He immediately used Divine Dragon Tail Whip. The seawater suddenly boiled, and Qi Shu Wen blankly stared at the strange creature in front of him. What the F***CK is this fish? Why does it have 2 heads and legs? Its body is actually so huge. Why have I never seen it before? Qi Shu Wen was stunned. The unknown creature in front of him made Qi Shu Wen dumbfounded. Following the system's feedback, this fish was very valuable. Swallowing it could be exchanged for a huge amount of dragon energy. However, this fish seemed to look down on Qi Shu Wen, this small golden dragon, and actually swam over. How could Qi Shu Wen let go of such a good opportunity? He hurriedly chased after it. Gradually, he disappeared into the darkness at the bottom of the sea. However, in less than half a minute, a small golden dragon could be seen frantically running away, followed by a group of the same kind of fish. When Qi Shu Wen was running away, suddenly there was a loud noise, and a large piece of darkness enveloped Qi Shuwen. Qi Shuwen raised his head to look, and he was so scared that his scalp went numb. What the hell is this? A giant whale that was several hundred meters long appeared above their heads. It immediately opened its bloody mouth, revealing rows of gleaming silver teeth that caused people to shudder. In a single mouthful, he had eaten those strange fishes just now. Qi Shuwen's mind was already stupefied. Since when was a whale able to swim so deep into the water and also so long and so huge? With a panicked expression, Qi Shuwen felt that he had to hurry back home. However, on the way home, Qi Shuwen saw a lot of strange creatures, and he was scared to the point of shivering. Have you ever seen a tank-sized crayfish before? Damn it, all of them have mutated. Xianba lived in Yanshan City, and right now, he was also blankly looking at the heavy rain. Teacher, just what is going on? Xianba asked blankly as he sensed the rich spiritual energy around him. Feng Lao said faintly, "Someone opened the door of spiritual energy. This person is so terrifying. Let's not go and provoke that person then." Xianba, right now, the spiritual energy is abundant. Trained properly, the current situation is beneficial to us. Master, I understand. You could be at ease. All right. I will definitely train properly. Xianba nodded his head. This is my chance. The god bestowed me with such a strong spiritual energy. It is all for me to rise up. At this very moment, all kinds of caves appeared in the remote mountainous area. The low roar of monsters rang out in the dark forest, and the wild tiger's body instantly became huge, becoming even more bloodthirsty. Chapter 575. This was the revival of spirit energy. Humans were improving, and so were all the animals. On the Pacific Ocean, a luxurious cruise ship was sailing in the darkness. The light it emitted was very unique, like a candle in the dark. In the cockpit, a few crew members were checking the data to make sure it was safe. The cabin door was suddenly pushed open, and a foreigner in pajamas walked in. "Captain! Captain! Captain!" The captain, who was wearing a thick cotton jacket, glanced around. "Is everything safe?" "Report, everything is safe." The captain nodded and felt relieved. This was his last voyage. After this, he would retire. He couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Beep, beep, beep. At this time, the radar suddenly sounded, which surprised everyone. There shouldn't be anything else in this area of the sea. Could it be another ship? The crew immediately checked, and when they saw what was displayed on the radar, they were dumbfounded. "What's wrong?" the captain asked. The frequency of the radar warning grew faster and faster, as if they were about to collide. The captain panicked and hurriedly ran over, pushing his crew aside. He placed his hands on the radar and focused his gaze. His pupils immediately dilated. Leida's shadow indicated that a huge monster was rapidly approaching. "What is this?" the captain exclaimed. All the crew members were at a loss. Just as everyone was panicking, the ship shook violently. The huge creature was at the bottom of the ship. The captain hurriedly ran out and stood on the deck. Then they could see that the sea was boiling, and they could vaguely see a giant creature swimming. "God, what is this thing?" The old captain was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat, and his face was filled with horror. "Captain, oh no, the cabin is flooded." The captain frowned and walked in again, shouting, "Close the gate. Call for help." "Yes." The captain looked at the dark sea again. At this time, the sea was calm, as if it had never appeared. On the morning of the third day of Chinese New Year, the sun was bright and beautiful, and the warm sunlight shone into the bedroom through the window. Qing could be seen snuggling into Yi Hua's embrace, and the little fellow, Yin, was actually crawling onto his father's chest, and saliva was even flowing out from the corner of his mouth. "Why are you still sleeping?" Something happened. Dong Wang Baiji's figure suddenly appeared beside the bed. Yi Hua slowly opened his eyes and saw his son, as well as the saliva at the corner of his son's mouth. "My God, why is he the same as his mother? Loves to drool. Qing moaned a few times, then opened her beautiful eyes. Baiji, you came so early in the morning? Yin also opened his eyes at this time. Seeing his father's fierce gaze, he was so frightened that he threw himself into his mother's arms. Look at this saliva. It is all inherited from you. Yihua pointed at the saliva on the pajamas and said helplessly. Qingyu snorted, he is still your son. The hell? Are the two of you even listening to what I'm saying? Dongwang Baiji was very speechless. Why are the two of you still discussing about saliva now? Qingyu sat up and asked, what happened? Just take a look outside and you will understand. Dongwang Baiji said. While yawning, Qingyu carried her son and opened the window. After that, he went into a daze, and he even rubbed his eyes as if he had seen a ghost. What a big bird, Qingyu muttered. A giant magpie was flying in the sky, like a Boeing 747 flying at low altitude. Yihua stood at the side and looked at the magpie. F***K. Is the revival of spiritual energy able to cause a bird to become so big? What kind of situation is this? Qingyu was very puzzled and completely didn't know what to say. I can't be dreaming, right? Dongwang Baiji held on her forehead. Yihua, Qingyu, don't the two of you feel anything? Wow, the spiritual energy has become a lot denser. Yihua cried out in surprise, as expected of someone who won the Best Male Lead Award. However, it has been a long time since I acted in a movie, so I'm a bit exaggerated. Qingyu also felt it and cried out in surprise. This spiritual energy, that's right, the spiritual energy has revived. After finished speaking, Dongwang Baiji looked towards Yihua, seemingly asking if he was the one who did the revival of spiritual energy. Yihua said indifferently, I was having sex with Qingyu last night. You can ask her. Qingyu didn't feel embarrassed. Yihua was with me the entire time last night. After hearing what Yihua said, Dongwang Baiji felt a bit embarrassed and cast an apologetic gaze towards her husband. After all, the strength that Yihua displayed on Cerulean Planet was too strong, and Dongwang Baiji could only think of this point. Yihua turned his head and looked towards the magpie that was in the sky. Suddenly, the magpie took a poop, and the poop actually covered the car that was in the middle of driving. The corner of Yihua's mouth twitched. Luckily, I didn't say that I was the one who did it. This kind of consequence is out of my imagination. I will go back and deal with it first. Everything is in a mess. After finished speaking, Dongwang Baiji left the bedroom. Meanwhile, Yihua and Qingyu just stood beside the window and looked at the magpie taking a poop. It was just like dropping a bomb, too scary. At this moment, Qing Yutong rushed into the bedroom. Brother-in-law, big sister, something big happened. Quickly come and look at the news. Yihua and Qingyu walked downstairs, and Qingyu's entire family could be seen watching the news with a shocked expression on their faces. For example, the tiger in the zoo turned into a terrifying giant beast. Although the monkey didn't become bigger, its speed was extremely fast, and the supermarket was already occupied by the monkey. The cruise ship was opened by an unknown creature, but fortunately, there were no casualties. Some people were able to push a car, and some people were able to destroy an ATM machine with a single punch. In any case, everything was in a mess. This is an unexpected thing. I definitely didn't expect that it would become like this. This is too exaggerated. I wonder if I could take back the spiritual energy, but I reckon that I won't be able to. Setting a fire is easy, but putting it out is hard. Everything is in a mess. This is a financial crisis. We're going to go bankrupt. Qing Huaxian held onto his forehead and let out a long sigh. Qingyu said in a low voice, Yihua, I have to go and help Baiji. I will leave my son to you to take care of him for a few days. Yutong, you come with me as well. After finished speaking, Qingyu handed Yin over to Yihua, then pulled his little sister upstairs and hurriedly rushed towards Voidless Realm. Before Yi Yin could even react, he had already arrived at his father's embrace. Does Mom not want me anymore? Mom threw me into an abyss of suffering, scared to the point that Yin peed in his pants. Yi Hua's expression stiffened, and he felt a warm current flowing through his body. My son actually peed in his pants. Damn it. Yi Yin looked at his father embarrassedly. Your dad, You scared Yin to the point that he peed in his pants. Don't blame me. Just as Yihua was preparing to go and change his clothes, a piece of news caught his attention. News from our station. Just a while ago, a group of people who call themselves the Justice Alliance stood out and used their powerful strength to help the people get rid of the scourge. At the same time, the same group of people appeared in various places, and they called themselves cultivators. Chapter 576. The TV screen just happened to switch to Wang Debao's face, who was killing a huge rat. With a swoosh, blood splattered everywhere. The camera was blurred, and he couldn't help but feel disgusted. A hand wiped the lens, and Wang Debao grinned. Welcome to the Righteous Alliance. We are a team that protects the safety of the world. We will go wherever there is danger. Bang! Before he could finish, he was snatched away by an eagle. Wife, save me. However, it was not just a Righteous Alliance. Many other people took this opportunity to recruit experts and maintain law and order. After all, they were all intelligent people. How could they give up on such a good opportunity? Qing Huaxian, who was originally frustrated, suddenly cried out in surprise. Seems like our company is going to change its line of work. Yihua carried his son and went upstairs to change his clothes. I feel that it is better for Voidless Realm to not get involved in this kind of matter. Even if Voidless Realm were to get involved in this matter, it wouldn't be of much use to them. This is a large-scale disaster, and it isn't something that a few thousand people from Voidless Realm would be able to solve. After putting on the diapers for his son and helping his son to put on his clothes, Yihua, the nanny father, finally let out a breath of relief. After that, Yihua began changing his clothes. Yin sat on the bed and looked at his father with his big eyes. He didn't seem so fierce. It seemed like he wasn't a gift from someone who topped up his phone. After tying his son to his chest, Yihua prepared to go to Voidless Realm to take a look and give them some practical suggestions. In the desert outside of Voidless Realm, there was a huge poisonous scorpion that was crawling slowly, and there was also a huge cobra that was crawling on the ground. Inside Voidless Realm, Dongwang Baiji was currently discussing with Qinya about countermeasures. Qing Yutong's playful expression changed, and she gave a most sincere suggestion. At this moment, Yihua also appeared at the side. When the three women saw the way Yihua was dressed, the corners of their mouths twitched. Wasn't he a super nanny? When Qinya saw that her son stopped crying after being together with Yihua, she felt much more at ease. You all don't need to discuss anymore. A lot of cultivators have already stood out to resist, and it won't be long before the crisis is resolved. Yihua said faintly. The little guy, Yin, sucked on his finger and watched curiously without making a fuss. Dongwang Baiji said gravely, even if the crisis within the city is resolved, what are we going to do about the crisis outside? For example, the animals within the desert have all evolved into spiritual beings. Yihua revealed an expression that said, You are all idiots. This is the law of nature. Do you intend to eliminate all dangers? Just you three women and the several thousand people for Voidless Realm? Dream on. Yihua ruthlessly struck down on her. I don't know what this woman is thinking about. Yihua's words dealt a huge blow to the three women. After pausing for a moment, Yihua said again, The revival of spiritual energy this time is a test for people. It also shows that we have entered a new era, and people have to adapt to the new era. Is the same for you guys. You guys are really stupid. Yi Yen, who was in his arms, nodded. There was nothing wrong with his father's words. When Qinya saw that her son was actually able to nod his head, she immediately felt that the situation wasn't good. I have only taught my son to Yihua for around 10 minutes, and my son is already being led astray. What are you doing? I will be taking care of the child for the next few days and nurture our relationship. Yihua refused to give the child to Qinya. This caused Qinya to become anxious, as if her husband was going to snatch the child away from her. Yihua, I still need someone to feed me milk. Qinya was fighting over Yihua, and Dongwang Baiji and Qing Yutong were shaking their heads. I can feed them too, Yihua said gravely. Wow, brother-in-law, you still have this kind of ability? Qing Yutong cried out in surprise. Qinya, who was standing at the side, bit on her lips and had a look of, if you don't give me my son, I will cry, on her face. You all continue with the meeting. I will bring my son out to play. After finished speaking, Yihua left. Qinya stomped her feet in anger. Dongwang Baiji laughed lightly. Qinya, don't be angry. Do you think that Yihua will be able to steal your son away? That's right, brother-in-law even knows how to feed. I'm really curious how brother-in-law feeds his son. Qing Yutong began filling in the blanks in her mind. Let us continue to discuss about our future plans. Dongwang Baiji retracted her smile and said solemnly. Qingya and Qing Yutong also became serious. We cannot be careless with this matter. Meanwhile, Yihua also gathered all of his subordinates at Leisure Bar and began the first meeting of the new year. The location of the meeting had already changed from Leisure Bar's toilet to Leisure Bar's main hall. This caused Wei Chong and Lai Gu to let out a sigh of relief. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Little honor. Everyone bowed down respectfully and shouted out loudly. Yi Yin, who was in Yihua's embrace, blinked his big eyes. Looking at his father's subordinates, Yi Yan's heart was filled with curiosity. Everyone, get up, Yihua said faintly. Thank you, your honor. Yihua took out a stick of cigarette, paused for a moment, then took it back. My son is still here. Smoking doesn't seem to be too good. Sitting on the high chair, Yihua said faintly. You all should know about today's matter, right? All of Yihua's subordinates nodded their heads. Yesterday night, I felt that his honor definitely has a new plan. In the new year, there must be a new atmosphere. I, the Supreme Overlord, have given out spiritual energy as a red packet for the world. Your honor's great fortune. This will be a good fortune for mankind. All of Yihua's subordinates shouted out in unison once again, seemingly as if they had already thought of their lines beforehand. Yihua nodded his head, and Yin, who was in Yihua's embrace, nodded his head as well, just that Yihua didn't see it. Tell me, what is your goal for this year? It's over. His honor is going to start the test. Lai Gu and Yi Zizi immediately shut up. If I don't participate in this kind of test, I will be scolded if I don't speak well. Seeing that all of Yihua's subordinates were not speaking, Yihua had no choice but to call out names. Yi Zizi, tell me what I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to do in the future. Yi Zizi cried out in surprise. What are you doing, your honor? You know that I am very lazy. I am not suitable to answer questions. What Tell me. Yihua shouted out lightly. Yi Zizi puffed out her cheeks and said gloomily, His honor wants to unify the world. Everyone, isn't it just a matter of time for his honor to unify the world? As expected, I shouldn't have asked Yi Zizi. Looking at his honor's disappointed gaze, Yi Zizi lowered her head in grievance. It's not like I'm good at answering questions. Wei Chong, tell me what you think. Yihua said faintly. I feel that after the new year, all of my subordinates are stupefied. Wei Chong paused for a moment, then took a step forward and said respectfully, His honor wants to use the same old trick again. Am I, the Supreme Overlord, such a senseless person? Would I use the same trick again after using it once? Yihua's brows wrinkled. He was very dissatisfied. All of Yihua's subordinates sensed his honor's dissatisfaction and began to become nervous. Zhu Tian felt that it was time for him to tell his honor. However, Brett hastened his pace as he bowed down and said, His honor's goal should be Justice Alliance. Brett is smarter than all of you. At the very least, he is able to point out the root of the problem. Yihua said gravely. All of Yihua's subordinates lowered their heads and remained silent as they listened to his honor's lecture. I didn't expect that the first meeting of the new year would be like this. Chapter 577. Yihua continued. Last year, the number of people in the cultivation world decreased greatly, and this time around, I wanted to replenish some fresh blood. Just that, I didn't expect that when I was replenishing some fresh blood, such a situation would still occur. However, right now, the situation is under control. What is worthy for me to be happy about is that there are people who are planning to use this opportunity to form their own faction. Justice and Order Alliance can be counted as the earliest to form their own faction, and right now, there are even more factions that are forming their own faction. All of these factions do not place Voidless Realm and Ing family in their eyes anymore. Speaking up to here, Yihua paused for a moment, then looked towards his subordinates. Yi Zizi raised her hand and answered, "His Honor wants us to kill those people." Yihua slapped the air in annoyance. Yi Zizi held on her head and felt extremely wronged. "I want to see how they fight." Wei Chong asked the Ying family to distribute the ancient godly items. Remember, every ancient godly item is divided into 3 fragments and slowly guide them. Understand? Yes. Wei Chong respectfully accepted the order. Brett, there's no need to keep an eye on a righteous alliance. If I know everything, it'll be boring. Yes. Brett lowered his head and accepted the order. Yihua stood up and emphasized once again, "Remember, we are law-abiding citizens, and we will never kill people." The subordinates' lips curled up into a sinister smile. "Your Honor, subordinates will remember." The subordinates shouted out in unison. "Brett, stay here. Everyone else, disperse." "Yes." Before leaving, Zhu Tian took a look at His Honor. Could it be that His Honor is planning to persuade Brett again? His Honor is simply too good to me, and I can only repay His Honor's kindness by sacrificing my life. "Sit," Yihua said faintly. This subordinate doesn't dare. Brett's expression didn't change in the slightest as he replied respectfully. Yihua didn't insist and said lightly, "What do you intend to do next?" "We await your next command," Brett said in a low voice. "What are you going to do while you wait?" Brett said nothing. "Actually, you should find someone to accompany you. Look at them. They already have their other half." After hearing what Zhu Tian said, Brett's expression finally changed, and he said gravely, "Your Honor, I will never forgive Zhu Tian. When did I say that I would let you and Zhu Tian fight?" Yihua laughed lightly. Brett slightly raised his head. "Your Honor, I have found a husband for you. In a few days, you should meet him first and then get married." Brett was shocked by His Honor's words, and he hurriedly said, "Your Honor, isn't this a little too hasty?" "Hasty? Or are you going to disobey my orders?" Yihua's expression sunk, and he emitted out ice-cold, killing intent. Brett hurriedly knelt on the ground with a terrified expression. "This subordinate deserves to die. All right, you can go now. I'll inform you to go on a blind date. Remember, I'm not asking for your permission. Subordinate will listen to your Honor's arrangements." Brett felt that His Honor didn't seem to be joking. Thus, he could only agree to it. Yihua waved his hand, and Brett bowed and retreated a few steps. After that, Brett disappeared from the hall. Pinching onto his son's cheeks, Yihua let out a breath. "Every time I see Brett sitting at the side by himself and separated from the group, I will feel unhappy." This time, he also planned to suppress Brett. But where should he go to find the male lead? What a problem. "Yaya!" Yin suddenly shouted. Yihua carried on to his son, and the father and son pair looked at each other deeply. After a while, Yihua asked, "Hungry?" The little fellow nodded his head. Yihua had no choice but to send the little fellow to Voidless Realm first. "Just now, I wanted to feed my son spicy gluten, but unfortunately, I don't have any teeth. Seems like I have to learn how to make milk." 1 month passed by in the blink of an eye, and Yin was now 1 month old. The little fellow was a bit mischievous now, and he had already learned how to walk when he was around 10 days old. Big sister Dongwang, Li had been playing with little brother in Voidless Realm every day, causing a lot of chaos. Qingya and Dongwang Baiji were having a headache. In the beginning, everyone only felt that the 2 little princes were mischievous, but after a while, the 2 princes weren't just mischievous at all, they were simply the kings of destruction. Right now, the 2 siblings were currently standing in front of their mother with their heads lowered. The 2 siblings' faces were dirty, and it was clear that they had just done something bad. There were even chicken feathers on Yi Yan's head. Qingya and Dongwang Baiji looked at their children with a stern expression. Yihua sat at the side and drank his tea leisurely. The 2 siblings would send a distress signal to him from time to time. "Daddy, save me." In the past, Yin would often shout for mommy to save me, but right now, It had completely changed. Mommy is the real culprit, and Daddy is the warmest. Ollie, what's going on with you? Bringing your little brother to cause trouble. Dongwang Baiji started lecturing. Dongwang Li lowered her head and looked at her toes. Qingya reprimanded. Yin'er, how did Mommy teach you? You are already 1 month old, yet you are still so immature. Yihua almost sprayed out the tea that he was drinking. Isn't the demand a bit too high? How can a child be mature after 1 month old? Yin muttered in a low voice. You still dare to talk back to me? Qingya, who had a bad temper, immediately took out a feather duster. Seeing that his mother was going to fly into a rage, Yin immediately pounced into his father's embrace. Daddy, Mommy is going to hit me again. Yihua placed down the teacup and said faintly, Qingya, your demand is too high. Yin'er is still so young. Yin nodded his head. Mommy's demand is too high. She actually wants me to memorize poems, write poems, and other random things right now. I'm only 1 month old. Other people's children are still sleeping in the cradle when they are 1 month old. Qingya snorted coldly. Yihua, don't protect Yin'er. See if I don't beat him to death today. Dongwang Li couldn't help but laugh secretly, and her mother just happened to see her laughing. Ollie, you are still laughing. Dongwang Baiji could be seen taking out a feather duster. Dongwang Li imitated her little brother and pounced in her father's embrace. Daddy, Mommy is going to use domestic violence. You two, enough? How can there be mothers like you two, hitting children for no reason? Yihua's expression turned cold. Even I can't bear to hit the two of them. Qingya snorted, then shook the feather duster. Tonight, Yihua let out a cold laugh. To actually use this kind of thing to threaten me, do you two think that I will compromise? Ali, Yin'er, will the two of you listen to Daddy's words? Yihua asked seriously, as if he was going to bring the two little fellows away from home. Dongwang Li and Yi Yin nodded their heads vigorously. All right then, listen to Daddy's words and just hit Mommy a few times. Dongwang Li Yin, while holding onto the feather duster, Qingya and Dongwang Baiji walked over with a strange smile on their faces, scaring the two little fellows to the point that they started trembling. Little brother runs fast. Dongwang Li pulled on her little brother and ran out. Chapter 578. You two, don't be so strict. Children at this age should naturally play around. Yihua persuaded carefully. In the past, you two even said that you two are the same. Qingya laughed. You can't be like this. Children need to be educated from a young age. Look at Yin'er. He has been making noise everywhere. And Ali has been led astray by Yin. Dongwang Li doted on her little brother quite a bit, and sometimes she even helped her little brother to take the blame. It's really good to have this kind of elder sister. It's normal for a boy to be a bit naughty. Yihua sighed lightly. If Yin was like a girl and didn't make noise, Yihua wouldn't like it. Dongwang Baiji nodded her head. What Yihua said is right. Don't be too strict. You too. Qingya snorted, then sat down and drank her tea. Let's talk about proper business. Recently, that Justice Alliance has been in the limelight. Dongwang Baiji sat beside Yihua and poured herself a cup of tea. Dongwang Baiji was a bit irritated. This Justice Alliance had recruited quite a lot of people in this 1 month, and they had even obtained the Good Citizen Award. They had been killing spirit creatures everywhere, restoring order to all the big cities. The problem was a lot of families had withdrawn from the management of the big powers. Some joined the Justice Alliance, and some even established their own families. In short, they did not want to be managed by the big powers anymore. However, Voidless Realm and Ing family both remained silent, giving people a kind of misconception, as if they were tacitly agreeing to this situation, causing even more families to withdraw from the big powers. Other than Justice Alliance, another organization called Peace Association emerged, and they could be counted as the two most snobbish and powerful organizations right now. They didn't differentiate between North and South, and they would go wherever there was trouble. Voidless Realm and Ing family seemed to have faded out of people's sight. In the past, people didn't even mention these two big powers, and right now, newcomers didn't even know that these two big powers existed. Furthermore, in this short 1 month, more and more regulations were introduced one after another. It couldn't be helped, they had to adapt to the new environment. For young people, such a world was too exciting. It was just like a fantasy world in a novel. They could practice powerful martial arts and fly in the sky. They could destroy the world with a wave of their hands and feet. They could be a peerless hero or a devil incarnate. Some businessmen were also looking for business opportunities. They opened various academies and hired experts from the cultivation world to be teachers. The whole world was slowly moving towards a new height, and the benefits still outweighed the disadvantages. The corresponding ranking system would also be introduced in a month's time. The entire world would be unified to prevent chaos. The stars, moons, and suns were used to determine the levels of strength. The 5 stars were upgraded to the moon, and the 5 moons were upgraded to the sun. It was simple and easy to understand. However, one shouldn't underestimate this power level. This was the result that all the experts came up with. Right now, there weren't any Sun-class elites in the world, and there were very few Sun-class elites in March or April. Wang Debao and Bai Cixin were only 2 moons and 4 stars. Feng Tian was a 4 moons expert and could be considered an influential figure. Qing Tian had also been tested and was also a 4 moons expert. However, Feng Tian and the others did not believe that Qing Tian was deliberately suppressing his strength. With 4 moons imprinted on his chest, he would be respected when he walked out. Now, people would look at his chest first and not at his money, because no matter how much money one had, one would still have to kneel down and lick a powerful cultivator. Furthermore, people nowadays like to form parties to fight monsters. After all, the bodies of those animals were all treasures that could be made into spiritual artifacts. There were even some people who found some caves that were guarded by powerful demons. It felt like they were fighting a dungeon, just that there was only one chance to fight a dungeon like this, and if one was slightly careless, one would lose their life. Those that didn't have a bit of strength could only watch from the sidelines, not daring to move. Meanwhile, the desert outside of Voidless Realm was already classified as a forbidden area. There were too many ferocious beasts in that place, and if one were to come here, one would basically die. Furthermore, the sea was rather dangerous as well. Without a few powerful figures guarding the sea, no one would dare to go out to sea. I really don't know what you two are worried about. What does the strength of the Justice and Order Alliance have to do with us? You two just have to do your own part. Why are you two still caring about other people's opinion? Yihua couldn't understand the 2 women. After all, Dongwang Baiji had been an empress for so long, and right now, she was worried about personal gains and losses. In the past, she controlled the entire north, but now, since other people don't even give a damn about them, how could they possibly feel comfortable? Furthermore, other powers were gradually becoming bigger and bigger, and they had obtained everyone's acknowledgement, causing Qinya and Dongwang Baiji to feel sullen. In other words, he was unhappy and displeased. Hearing Yihua's words, Qinya and Dongwang Baiji became like a deflated balloon and became dispirited. You two, in the past, you two didn't fight for anything, and now that someone else is fighting for something, you two are acting like this. Hee women. Yihua teased his 2 wives to his heart's content, expressing that he was feeling very good. Dongwang Baiji refuted. It's all because you didn't allow it. What are you 2 women trying to do? Don't you know how to keep a low profile? Why don't you learn from me? As a mother, shouting about killing every day, what a scandal. This is the jealousy that comes from a woman. Even Qinya and Dongwang Baiji have this kind of bad habit. The 2 wives pouted and remained silent. Luckily, the little fellows weren't present. If not, their image would definitely be ruined if they saw their mother acting like this. Rest assured, Voidless Realm will forever be a big power. This is something that no one can change. They're just consoling themselves. Yihua said faintly, then walked out of the room. He wanted to let the 2 women calm down, because there was going to be a big show today, and Yihua was going to join in the fun. Other than Zhu Tian, everyone knew about this. And that was Brett's blind date. It was today. Blind date. Gold Raider Colonel Do Fusher. Wei Chong was truly unable to find a reliable person, and he only heard from Death Mage that there was such a person who was rather reliable. Actually, the Blood Demon had wanted to put on a show at the start and act as the matchmaker. What if the show turned out to be real? Brett was so beautiful, so sexy, so compatible with the Blood Demon. They were a perfect match. At the start, Yihua only had this choice, but the sudden appearance of Do Fusher made Yihua change his view. After all, Do Fusher was an outsider, and this was much better. Do Fusher was also very surprised. Ever since he separated from his big brother and sister-in-law, Do Fusher started doing his old profession of catching ghosts. As for digging up tombs, forget about it. Those tombs are all for scamming children. Suddenly, Big Brother looked for me and said that I have a very important mission, and after I complete it, I can join the group? There's a power outage today. There's a power outage today. This is so depressing. Chapter 579. Hearing such news, Do Fusher became very excited. He had wanted to join the group long ago, but he didn't have any contribution points. Now, the opportunity is right in front of me. As long as I complete the mission, I will be able to worship the big boss. Just thinking about it makes me excited. However, Do Fusher suddenly felt that something was wrong. Why did he have to look for me? Big Brother is so powerful. Is there anything that he can't do? This mission is definitely going to be very dangerous. Do Fusher felt that he had to give it his all. If he wins, he will join the group and worship the big boss. If he loses, he will cry. When he heard the mission, Do Fusher was stupefied. I'm actually asked to go on a blind date. Although I'm just putting on an act, Do Fusher is already very satisfied. This isn't even considered a mission at all. It's just a small mission I can settle in a few minutes. However, Do Fusher still doesn't know who his blind date partner is. There is still Ju Tian who is eyeing him covetously. In a coffee shop in Long City, Do Fusher saw his blind date partner and was stupefied by the other party's appearance and aura. This is the blind date partner? Why does he look so good? I'm finished. My heart is beating so fast. I'm gonna die. This appearance, this figure, this is too perfect. Meanwhile, Brett was also observing Do Fusher, and her eyebrows were tightly knitted together. I don't understand why his honor arranged such a weak man. He is 10,000 times worse than Ju Tian. Look at him. He doesn't have any confidence at all. A man like him is actually blushing. If not for his honor's order, he would have already left. However, Yihua and the others were standing not far away from Brett. Of course, this was not something that others could see. Not even Brett noticed. After all, this was a spell cast by an overlord. If Brett was able to notice it, it meant that his strength had reached the pinnacle. His honor, this arrangement of yours is too bad. He isn't worthy of Brett at all. Lai Gu muttered. Even if you want to put on a show, you should at least find a stronger one. Yihua said faintly, it is precisely because he is weak. Wei Chong nodded his head. He understood what his honor meant. Ju Tian is probably going to faint from anger. I didn't expect Brett to find such a weak person. His honor is truly becoming more and more intelligent. Subordinates admire him greatly. Right now, not only does he have to look at the big picture, he also has to take care of the subordinate's private life. Did you send out any messages? Yihua asked indifferently. If the male lead is missing from this matter, then what is the point of playing with a hammer? Wei Chong said respectfully, Your honor can be at ease. We have already leaked out a bit of information in the group. I believe that Ju Tian should already know about it. That's good. Absolute heaven must not find out about this matter. This subordinate obeys. Everyone looked at the couple again. Do Fusher lowered his head and took a sip of the coffee on the table before asking in a low voice, What do you usually do? Yihua and the others immediately face-bombed. Can't you King ask some questions that have technical content? Do you want me, the Supreme Overlord, to teach you how to go on a blind date? Brett almost couldn't help but slap him. He couldn't compare to absolute heaven at all. Murder, Brett said coldly. Puff. Do Fusher couldn't hold it in, and a little bit of coffee flowed out of the corner of his mouth. This woman was too cold. She killed people at the slightest provocation. Couldn't she be a little more subtle, like fighting and killing? Actually, I'm good at killing people too. Do Fusher calmed himself down. His mission was to gain Brett's favor, but when he thought about how it was fake, he felt a little sad. What if Brett is really unable to extricate herself from falling in love with me? When the time comes, I would have to tell her that everything is fake. It would be too hurtful. After all, Do Fusher, can be counted as an outstanding man. Back then, even my sister-in-law had thoughts about me. It's fortunate that I calmed myself down. If not, I would have let down my big brother. Brett sneered. How many did you kill? Can we not talk about this bloody topic and talk about Key and talk about the world instead? Not interested. Let's talk about food then. There's a newly opened hot pot restaurant that is especially good. How about we go there? Not interested. Then, what are you interested in? Murder. Do Fusher, this is simply impossible to communicate with. We are not even on the same channel at all. Brett suddenly wrinkled her brows and said faintly, Come and sit over here. I told you to come over, so come over. Brett's beautiful eyes turned cold, scaring Do Fusher to the point that he almost peed in his pants. Do Fusher immediately sat beside Brett, and Brett lightly leaned onto Do Fusher's shoulder. Just like that, Do Fusher panicked. So fragrant. It's really fragrant. Is this the fragrance of a woman? That's not right. We were just talking about murder just a moment ago. Aren't you being too careless? After all, Do Fusher, am not a casual man. Suddenly, a man who wore a white suit walked into the coffee shop. The man's expression was frighteningly gloomy, and it seemed as if he would explode at any moment. The man who came was precisely Ju Tion. When he saw the contents of the WeChat group, he almost couldn't help but release his spiritual pressure. Brett actually went on a tryst. Which bastard dares to date my Ju Tion's woman? Is he tired of living? Bringing along his anger, Ju Tion directly rushed over. Furthermore, when he saw the cold and arrogant Brett leaning onto a man's shoulder, a trace of an arc actually appeared on the corner of Ju Tion's mouth. This arc is something that even Ju Tion himself has never seen before. Your Honor, will Ju Tion go berserk? Wei Chong asked in a low voice. Right now, Ju Tion is very unstable. Yi Hua shook his head. To be able to endure under such a situation, Ju Tion can be considered to be strong. Green Hat, just thinking about it makes me excited. Lai Gu said sneakily. Tang Wei, who was at the side, said tenderly, Brett only likes absolute heaven. This sentence was rather pertinent. Don't look at how stubborn Brett was right now. In truth, his heart was filled with absolute heaven. No matter what kind of person he was, he would compare himself to absolute heaven. It could be seen just how important absolute heaven was in Brett's heart. At this moment, when Do Fusher saw absolute heaven, he instantly felt hostility. Coupled with Brett's previous actions, this person was definitely absolute heaven's ex-boyfriend. How could Do Fusher, be afraid of such a pretty boy? Floating Do did not know of absolute heaven's identity at all. If he had known, he would not have accepted this quest, even if he was beaten to death. Absolute heaven walked over with a sullen expression on his face. He then sat down on the opposite side, his eyes fixed on the two of them. However, Do Fusher performed a shocking feat, causing Yi Hua and the others to go into a daze. What a good fellow! How daring! Do Fusher grabbed Brett's shoulder and shouted at absolute heaven. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen a beautiful woman and a handsome guy before? This brat is not bad. Your Honor, where did you find this weirdo from? Lai Gu's heart was filled with admiration. Even I don't dare to speak to Ju Tion like this. And yet, this fellow is actually not afraid. Chapter 580. Yi Hua said faintly, Wei Chong was the one who found me. Lai Gu then asked Wei Chong, Where did you find him? Wei Chong said indifferently, It was Death Mage who found me. Lai Gu then looked towards Death Mage and asked, Brother, where did you find him? GGG, Imperial Translation. There is no longer any meaning to it. That brother has to live. On the other side, Do Fuscher's eyes bulged as he displayed his most savage side, staring straight at absolute heaven. Why do I feel that this expression is a bit similar to the Lai Gu in the past? Wei Chong interrupted. Lai Gu was very confused and asked curiously, "How is that possible? The days when you were a dog." Lai Gu, not to mention, Do Fuscher's ferocious appearance was very similar to that of an arrogant husky. "I'm going to be terrified soon." Absolute heaven coldly stared at Do Fuscher. He was prepared to kill this lowly ant in front of him. Even he was willing to accompany Brett on a blind date. He was overestimating himself. However, Do Fuscher still did not know that absolute heaven was about to make a move. Do Fuscher extended his chin forward, revealing a row of teeth as if he was about to bite someone. Brett said lightly, "He was introduced by our boss. Try touching him if you dare." Zhu Tian was startled. "His honor arranged this? How could this be? Isn't his honor standing on my side? Boss saw that I was too lonely, so he arranged a man for me." Brett slowly hugged Do Fuscher's arm and said in a sweet voice. Do Fuscher's ferocious expression was a little strange, because within this ferocious expression there was even a hint of shyness. This kind of expression had already caused Lai Gu to burst into laughter. His brother's really too funny. In the past, the Green and Red brothers were also very funny. Now that they have a girlfriend, they are much more mature. Sensing the fragrance around him, Do Fuscher coldly snorted. "Who are you? Can't you see we're on a date? Hurry up and get lost." Everyone, Wei Chong let out a sigh. Even if this matter is over this world of solitude, to actually shout scram in front of absolute heaven. Do Fuscher was so arrogant, and the source of his arrogance was Brett. With a beauty by his side, how could his aura be weak? What would he do if he was looked down upon? This man was handsome, but his nails were thicker than hers. Moreover, his attitude was very bad. It was obvious that he was here to snatch her away. If the person was snatched away, then wouldn't his mission be ruined? Then the matter of him joining the team would be gone. No, he had to become a hero. The blue veins on Zhu Tian's forehead bulged. This man actually dared to publicly insult him, and even told him to scram. Absolute heaven's entire body was in a terrible state. However, his rationality still prevailed, and he did not accidentally kill off Floating Doe. If Floating Battle Doe was really killed now, then he would have died in vain. When Do Fuscher thought about this matter in the future, he could not help but feel a chill run down his spine. It was as though he had taken a stroll through the gates of hell. "Brett, what's the point of doing this?" Absolute heaven questioned coldly. Seeing Brett hugging another man, absolute heaven felt extremely displeased in his heart, and every hair on his body stood on end. Brett giggled, stretching out a slender finger and stroking Do Fuscher's face. "He's much stronger than you." Seeing Brett's frivolous actions, absolute heaven fiercely slammed his palm on the table. How could the table withstand absolute heaven's slap? The surrounding people were quite frightened. Lai Gu rubbed his chin and said faintly, "This is the first time I've seen absolute heaven lose his temper." Wei Chong silently nodded his head. It seems like Brett had truly angered this cold cat. How was he stronger than me? Absolute heaven questioned. His pair of eyes were about to pop out, and his handsome face was incomparably fierce. Brett's eyes slightly narrowed. "He knows to protect me. What about you?" Absolute heaven's expression changed. He was unable to refute Brett's words. For so many years, he had never treated Brett well, and the words he spoke the most were rejection. Looking at absolute heaven's hesitant face, Brett suddenly felt a little sour in his heart, but he did not say anything. However, right now, Do Fuscher was about to say something. "Did you see what the beauty said just now?" She said that he knew to protect her, and her manliness was bursting. Do Fuscher once again performed a magnificent feat, shocking everyone present. "Brat, where are you from? Do you know who I am?" Do Fuscher pushed absolute heaven, who was in a daze, onto the sofa and sat down. Elvie Liang, who was watching from the back, raised her thumb. This is a real man, wanting a beauty more than his life. Yihong felt that there was nothing wrong with Do Fuscher's fierce words. Meanwhile, Zishan and the others were dumbstruck and covered their mouths. Absolute heaven was actually pushed down by Do Fusher. He even dared to be so arrogant. Can't he be more low profile? Yihua felt that there was nothing wrong with Do Fusher pushing down absolute heaven. This absolute heaven still needs a beating to wake him up. When Brett saw absolute heaven being pushed down by Do Fusher, he felt great in his heart. Absolute heaven, to think that you would have such a day. Fusher, let's go and get a room. Brett stood up while holding on to Do Fusher's arm. He even said something like getting a room, wanting to anger absolute heaven to death. Do Fusher felt that happiness came too suddenly. Didn't we agree to put on an act? Why did we end up getting a room right after putting on an act? Could it be that this is one of the benefits from the mission? Boss treats me too well. I worship him in my heart. I know of a hotel that has a pretty good waterbed. Do Fusher revealed an evil smile. In absolute heaven's eyes, Do Fusher was simply an unpardonable criminal. I'll listen to you, Brett said sweetly, as if she was allowing Do Fusher to bully her. Do Fusher actually hugged onto Brett's slender waist. This action of Do Fusher's was rather worrying. Do Fusher was afraid that Brett wouldn't be able to endure it and would end up King Do Fusher. Fortunately, for the sake of absolute heaven, Brett didn't say anything and even maintained a smile on her face, and even called Do Fusher sweetly. This caused Do Fusher to feel extremely happy. This voice sounds so good. It's so coquettish that I can't stand it anymore. I wonder if it will be even better when we get to the hotel. Stop right there. Absolute heaven shouted out coldly. The people in the coffee shop looked towards Do Fusher's direction once again. There were even a few martial artists who had 1 star imprinted on their chests, curiously sizing up Do Fusher and Do Fusher. Do Fusher stopped his footsteps, then said in a low voice, "This ex-boyfriend of yours is really hateful." "That's right. Can you help me hit him?" "I will let you feel better in a while," Brett said tenderly. Do Fusher's expression immediately became excited. Just based on that last sentence, I will climb a mountain of swords and dive into a sea of flames. Do Fusher could be seen once again performing a shocking feat. This time, even Yihua was stupefied. Do Fusher turned around and walked towards absolute heaven. When absolute heaven saw Do Fusher walking towards Do Fusher, absolute heaven was currently pondering whether or not he should disobey his honor's order and kill off this damn man. Bang! Just as absolute heaven was pondering, a punch actually landed onto his face. Chapter 581. The speed at which Fusher punched out was not fast, as if he was a normal person. However, it was precisely because of this that his punch landed fiercely on absolute heaven's face. Bang, bang. Absolute heaven never thought that this man would really dare to hit him. Brett had also never expected that absolute heaven would actually not dodge. However, he still felt very satisfied in his heart. Well fought. Yihua and the others started to admire Zhu Tian. For you to be able to land a punch on Zhu Tian, it means that your courage has already passed the test. Yihua said to Wei Chong, "If Do Fusher is still alive, after this matter is over, just take him in." This subordinate obeys. Wei Chong said respectfully. Lai Gu mumbled, "I haven't even slapped Zhu Tian's face before." Do Fusher felt very good. He raised his fist and shouted, "Brat, don't think that I won't hit you just because you're handsome. Even if your boss comes, I'm not afraid. Do you know who my boss is? He's known as the Jianghu's brother Zhun. I'm afraid you'll be scared to death if I tell you." "All right, ignore him. Let's go." Brett walked over and pulled Do Fusher back. However, absolute heaven did not pay any attention to him. Instead, he pulled Brett into his embrace, cupped Brett's face with both hands, and kissed him. Do Fusher was stunned. "You pretty boy, you actually dared to disrespect my blind date girl in front of me. Let's see if Papa doesn't beat you to death today." After saying so, absolute heaven raised his fist and punched towards absolute heaven. Unfortunately, someone was even faster than Floating Do. Brett sent absolute heaven flying with a single punch, and a large hole appeared in the roof. Do Fusher stared at Brett in shock. You're even more vicious than me. You've even sent someone flying. Yi Hua sighed. This Ju Tian's guts are not small. To directly kiss me just like that. Brett can already be considered to be good if he only punched me once. Those one-star martial artists weren't calm at all. They thought that it was just a fight between ordinary people, but they didn't expect it to be so powerful. One punch was enough to send someone flying into the sky. Brett wiped his lips, and his face turned slightly red. He cursed absolute heaven for being shameless in his heart. He actually forcefully kissed me. Bastard. Brimming with anger, Brett stomped on the ground, causing it to crack. Then, he shot out like a rocket. Seeing this, Do Fusher also followed. That damn man actually dared to take advantage of my blind date. Later, I'll let him see my own strength. I'm a famous gold raiding captain. Finding dragons and exploring caves is as easy as flipping my hand. These main characters had all changed locations, and Yi Hua and the others also followed along and changed locations. The good show had just begun. Absolute Heaven versus Brett. Brett, who had soared into the sky, stood in the void, coldly looking at Absolute Heaven. Do you know what you were doing just now? I know it feels really good. Absolute Heaven's lips were still stained with some lipstick, but at this moment, Absolute Heaven felt really good. Brett was even angrier and was ready to teach this damned man a lesson. Stop. Floating World arrived late. Who asked him to fly so high? He had only managed to climb up after much difficulty. When Brett saw that Do Fusher had arrived, his brows furrowed. Brett, let me. After saying that, Do Fusher took out his peachwood sword, bit his finger, and smeared his blood on the wooden sword. Instantly, a faint red light bloomed. You pretty boy, to actually dare to bully my woman. Don't you know whose underling I am? If you wait for my big brother to come, I'll tell you, you will be finished. It's too early for you to admit defeat now. Do Fusher stood behind Brett, pointed his sword towards Absolute Heaven, and shouted out loudly. Looking at that serious look on Do Fusher's face, he doesn't seem to be joking. Absolute Heaven sighed in his heart. He somewhat understood his honor's meaning, but where did his honor find such a weirdo? She is my woman. Do you understand? Absolute Heaven didn't want to talk too much with Do Fusher. After all, Do Fusher was the one who was called over by his honor. That punch I gave Brett just now can be considered as me letting Brett feel good. Do Fusher shouted out coldly, What, your woman? Stop boasting shamelessly. If you still don't admit defeat, I'm going to call you Big Brother. My big brother's big brother is even more powerful. My big brother's big brother's big brother is unrivaled. It's not that I'm boasting, but I can kill you with just a flick of my finger. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched. This Do Fusher is really good at boasting. You can leave, Absolute Heaven said faintly. Do Fusher looked at Absolute Heaven in disbelief. You are actually not afraid? Let me tell you, I'm going to call my big brother over right now. After speaking, Do Fusher really took out his phone and called Death Mage. However, Death Mage's phone was already switched off. Sorry, the number that you have dialed is currently switched off. Do Fusher was a bit embarrassed. He took a look at Brett, then looked at Absolute Heaven, then said, Don't be anxious, my big brother is very busy. Let me call a few more people. Death Mage, who was standing in the group, was speechless. Even I'm going to call my big brother Absolute Heaven, and you're still calling me over. Don't you know that this will make things even more awkward? Little friend, you can go back now. There is nothing else for you to do here. Absolute Heaven said lightly. Do Fusher was angered. To actually call me little friend, there is a beauty by my side. I cannot lose my face. Just you wait. I'm going to call my sister-in-law. You are finished. The corner of Sun Fang's mouth twitched. Then she immediately took out her phone and switched off her phone. When the people at the side saw Sun Fang's action, they took a look at Do Fusher, who was in the middle of the stage, and suddenly felt that Do Fusher was very pitiful. Hello, the number that you have dialed is currently switched off. Do Fusher's face darkened. Why did the two of them switch off their phones? They are the kings of the game. They don't even leave their phones. After a long while, Do Fusher forced a smile and said, "My big brother and sister-in-law are definitely busy with something. I will stand to the side and wait for a while. You'll be in for a good show." This Do Fusher was rather smart. After realizing that the other party was stronger than him, he immediately called his big brother. Because the other party was able to charge up to the cloud layer without even blushing, and even got punched by Brett, while I am about to fall down from the cloud layer after running up to the cloud layer. Do Fusher's words made Yi Hua and the others look towards Death Mage and Sun Fong. That gaze of Do Fusher seemed to be asking, "How did you two handle things?" Sun Fong's face immediately turned red. "How did I handle things?" This is completely Do Fusher's own imagination. "Brett, you don't have to be afraid. After my big brother and sister-in-law are done with their matters, they will come over." Do Fusher turned his head around and said seriously, "As a man, I should protect my woman properly." Brett said coldly, "Stand at the side." Stand at the side? Don't you understand?" Brett's beautiful eyes turned cold, scaring Do Fusher to the point that he shivered. Why does this woman suddenly change? Just a moment ago, she was still treating me like that, and now she is acting like this. Do Fusher pitifully walked to the side, then looked at the two of them and felt extremely gloomy. "How pitiful," Li Gu mumbled. "Although this is just a mission, this is still too much of a blow to me." However, Do Fusher was able to endure this kind of blow. "After taking a nap, I guarantee that everything will be fine." "Brett, if I am able to defeat you, will you follow me?" Zhu Tian shouted out. "Oomph. Say that after you defeat me." Chapter 582. Starting a fight just because of a disagreement. This truly makes one blush with shame. But right at that moment, another voice sounded out, "Stop!" The two people who were about to start a fight stopped. Yi Hua, who was standing at the side, wished that he could slap the person who shouted for them to stop to death. "It isn't easy for me to watch my subordinates fight. What are you guys doing here?" Not only Yi Hua felt disappointed, his subordinates felt the same as well. Half of their pants were taken off, and they actually came to inspect the room. Don't you think that this is infuriating? Only two moon rank experts could be seen. They rushed straight over with vigilance in their eyes. The two people stopped in the air at the side, and one of them shouted out, "We are from the Peace Association. Fighting is prohibited in the sky above the city." Peace Association? Iwa had only heard of it, but this is the first time I have come into contact with this group of people. I wonder who this big shot of the Peace Association is. Will he come and find trouble with me? Then I will have a reason to retaliate? Just thinking about it makes me a little happy. Zhu Tian and Brett looked at the people from the Peace Association coldly, and the latter immediately felt that his heart skipped a beat. These two people could be counted as people from the cultivation world previously. If not, they wouldn't have a moon. Just that Long and City was in the south, and Zhu Tian had only appeared in the north, so they didn't recognize Zhu Tian at all. Fighting in the sky above the city without permission, you will be detained for 15 days. Follow us. One of the men was very arrogant. He didn't differentiate the strength of both sides at all. Do Fusher shouted out, "It is all this man's fault. That beauty is innocent. Don't speak. You come along as well." The corner of Do Fusher's mouth slightly twitched. "You all are too indiscriminate. Who gave you all the right to do this? Who? You all don't have the qualifications to know. You all just need to know one thing. In the future, what the Peace Association says is the law. If anyone dares to resist, they will be killed without mercy." Yi Hua and the others were very surprised. I didn't expect this Peace Association to be so arrogant. They truly live up to their name. Look at those big shots from the Justice and Order Alliance. They're all very low profile. They could be dismissed with just pickled cabbage noodles. Brett snorted coldly. "What bullshit association? You all dare to shout in front of me." After finished speaking, she slapped the air. The man who didn't curse was sent flying. Judging from his height, he was at least out of the atmosphere. Why did I not say anything? And the one who slapped me was at me. Did you slap the wrong person? The man who scolded them was stunned. Who are these two? They sent a moon-class elite flying with one slap. You all actually dare to murder a law enforcer. This is a death sentence. You all just wait. You all are finished." After finished speaking, the law enforcer turned around and ran, and he was the kind that didn't care about his life anymore. Brett snorted and a jade bow appeared in her hand. She pulled the bow and shot it. From the ground, it looked like a shooting star, exceptionally beautiful. The man died in midair without any pain. Brett, who had insulted the 7 deadly sins, did not want to live anymore. Zhu Tian froze. He didn't dare to be careless, because that arrow had once again flown back. As one of the 7 deadly sins, absolute heaven knew of Bright's weakness. Bright was extremely afraid of getting into close combat. As long as Bright got into close combat, Bright's battle prowess would decrease by half. Just as Brett was about to let his guard down, absolute heaven displayed his abnormal speed and locked Brett in place with a retreating stance. Lai Gu exclaimed in admiration, "Your posture isn't bad." The girls at the side couldn't help but roll their eyes at Lai Gu. In Lai Gu's eyes, everything has a different meaning. When Do Fusher saw this, he was stunned as well. He felt that he didn't have enough spirit chi. "Beauty! Hold on. I will go and call Big Brother." After finished speaking, Do Fusher helplessly descended from the sky. If not, he would have to free fall and fall from the sky. Zhu Tian tightly held on to Brett, and at this moment, Brett's weakness was revealed. The golden arrow was flying towards the two of them. Is Brett planning to perish together with Yihua? Yihua's expression became a bit grave, and the people at the back also became nervous. The relaxed atmosphere immediately became heavy. F***K. Have these two people gone mad? Lai Gu couldn't help but shout out. Yihua didn't say anything. Brett should be trying to scare Zhu Tian. Zhu Tian hugged onto Brett tightly and said beside Brett's ear, "If death can make you forgive me, I am willing. Zhu Tian, even if you die, I will not forgive you." Brett shouted out, and the golden arrow immediately shone with a bright light. The golden arrow flew towards the two of them while emitting a terrifying aura. Yihua swallowed his saliva. What is this Zhu Tian planning to do? Right now, Yihua was considering whether he should make a move or not. If an accident were to occur, it would be hard to say what would happen. After all, Brett's Jade Bow was no joke. After charging up its power, it would be able to instantly kill an overlord. Seeing that the golden arrow was getting closer and closer to the two of them, Brett had already closed her beautiful eyes. "My heart is tired. I am really tired. If I die like this, his honor won't force me to get married, and I will be able to make Zhu Tian suffer for the rest of his life. Thinking about it is quite worth it. How could Zhu Tian possibly let Brett die?" He knew that Brett would definitely not stop until he got his revenge. Therefore, Zhu Tian suddenly threw Brett, who was in his embrace, away. The golden arrow that carried along the aura of death pierced through Zhu Tian's abdomen, and a fist-sized hole appeared on Zhu Tian's abdomen. Yihua was stupefied. Everyone was stupefied. Brett was also stupefied, as one of the 7 deadly sins. Even if it was an overlord's weapon, it would be hard for them to injure each other. Furthermore, Brett had charged up his power for this attack, and it wasn't as simple as just a stab. Absolute heaven violently spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body sank into darkness as he fell from the sky. Brett just stared blankly. It was as if he'd been struck by lightning, and his head was buzzing. There was no longer any meaning in hiding. All of them revealed themselves. Yihua hurriedly stabilized Zhu Tian, who was falling to the ground. The wound on Zhu Tian's abdomen was extremely terrifying, and it was currently corroding Zhu Tian's body. Without much time to think, Yihua immediately brought Zhu Tian back to Leisure Bar. If Zhu Tian doesn't receive treatment soon, he might die. When everyone returned to the Leisure Bar, none of them spoke a word. Brett was still in a dazed state as he foolishly looked at Absolute Heaven, who was on the table. Yihua took out all of the healing medicines, such as Clear Soul Condensing Pill, 6 Inchi Returning Pill, Supreme Spirit Gathering Pill, Sky Bewitching Ganoderma Grass, and so on. Suihan Buddha, Chaos Pagoda, An exquisite pagoda could be seen appearing in Yi Hua's hand, and the pagoda slowly floated onto Zhu Tian's body. The pagoda then emitted a Buddha's light that shone onto Zhu Tian's body. Meanwhile, Zhu Tian slowly changed back to his original form, a cat with strange fur laid powerlessly on the table. However, his chest was still moving up and down, causing everyone to let out a breath of relief. "It's good that he didn't die, Your Honor. Zhu Tian is here?" Wei Chang asked respectfully. "Thanks to my brothers for the tickets." Chapter 583. Yihua took a look at Brett, then said gravely, "This attack nearly took his life. Right now, we can only protect him. Maybe in a few hundred or even a few thousand years, they will be able to take human form." Everyone's eyes were filled with shock. They didn't expect it to be so serious. Brett fainted on the spot when he heard this. To be able to make Brett of the 7 deadly sins faint, what kind of blow was this? Yihua shook his head. "I really didn't expect that absolute heaven would be willing to die to save Brett." Zhu Tian's situation was different from Zishan and Yi Hong's situation, where Zhu Tian only needed a strand of Wei Chang's black mist to be able to revive them. Zhu Tian's strength was terrifying, and even Yihua could only temporarily preserve Zhu Tian's life. If Zhu Tian were to be injured a second time, even Yihua wouldn't be able to save Zhu Tian. Yi Zizi suddenly came down from upstairs. She looked at Absolute Heaven, who was on the verge of death, before looking at Brett, who had fainted. Yi Zizi shook her head. She then carried Absolute Heaven in her arms and walked upstairs. This stupid cat was actually willing to die for a woman. It was really embarrassing. Yihua sat on a high chair and didn't say anything as he drank his wine. All of the subordinates did not dare to make a sound and just stood there obediently. As for Zishan and Tang Wei, both of them were supporting Brett, who had fainted. No one had expected such a thing to happen. Absolute Heaven was actually prepared to die. This was even more unimaginable, especially for Wei Chang and Lai Gu. Absolute Heaven didn't seem like the kind of man who would die for love. In the past, he didn't even put women in his eyes. Only now did they realize that Absolute Heaven was just putting on an act. In fact, Absolute Heaven had long since had Brett in his heart. It was only because of his pride that he did not accept it. Now that he was almost gone, what was the point of keeping his face? If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have acted in the first place. After a while, Brett faintly woke up when he saw that Absolute Heaven had disappeared from the table, leaving behind only a pool of blood. He immediately started crying loudly. His heart-wrenching appearance made it seem as if his husband had just died. "Enough! What are you crying for? You aren't dead yet." Yihua wrinkled his brows and shouted out coldly, "It's fine to just scare me a little, but you actually got serious? Now you know regret." "Your Honor, I'm sorry." Hearing that Zhu Tian was still alive, Brett calmed down quite a bit and hurriedly apologized. "What's the use of apologizing to me? Are you satisfied with Absolute Heaven's current state? I've already lowered my head to you, but you're still so stubborn." Yihua shouted out angrily. If it was according to Yihua's temper in the past, I would have given Brett a few slaps right now. Brett is too insensible. Brett powerlessly kneeled onto the ground, and one after another, tears fell onto the ground. Right now, I'm already regretting. People only know how to cherish when they have lost something. When Yi Hong looked at Brett, she thought of herself and Zishan. It would be great if big brother Zhu Tian could be saved like me. But, Wei Chang, go and inform Zhu Tian's family. Yihua said gravely. After such a big matter happened, I still have to inform Zhu Tian's family. Yes. Wei Chang disappeared from Leisure Bar and brought Dong Fengyue and Guan Yinxin with him. The two still didn't know what was going on, and they respectfully knelt down and shouted out, "We pay our respects to your honor." "Get up," Yihua said gravely. Dong Fengyue and Guan Yinxin stood up and realized that the atmosphere was not right. There were bloodstains on the table beside them, and Brett was sobbing on the floor. Moreover, Absolute Heaven's figure was nowhere to be seen. A bad premonition lingered in the minds of the two women. Absolute Heaven is injured. He needs to rest here for a period of time. Yihua lit up a stick of cigarette and said gravely, I really don't know when Absolute Heaven will recover. Dongfang Yuer and Guan Yinxin didn't dare to believe that Absolute Heaven would be injured. He is the subordinate of a supreme overlord who would be able to injure him, unless the two women looked towards Brett, who was sobbing on the floor. Your Honor, is Absolute Heaven still all right? Guan Yinxin's red lips trembled, and her beautiful face tensed up. His life is hanging by a thread. Yihua could only describe Absolute Heaven's situation like this. Hearing that, Guan Yinxin paused for a moment. My entire family was killed, and right now, even Absolute Heaven is about to die. Such a blow caused Guan Yinxin to immediately fall backwards. Dongfang Yuer looked weak, but she didn't fall backwards like Guan Yinxin. Instead, she turned her head around and looked towards Brett. Everyone looked at the weak Dongfang Yuer walking towards Brett. In the past, when Dongfang Yuer saw Brett, she would appear to be afraid, but right now, Dongfang Yuer didn't have any fear at all. Standing in front of Brett, Dongfang Yuer raised her arm high up. Everyone didn't say anything. This time, Brett had indeed gone too far. This Dongfang Yuer almost lost her man, who would believe that she wasn't angry. However, Dongfang Yuer's slap did not land on Yihua's face. Instead, tears flowed down from Dongfang Yuer's face. Why are you so heartless? Absolute Heaven likes you so much, and yet you still want to injure him. Why? Say something. Dongfang Yuer shook Brett's shoulder, and a sense of desolation pervaded the air. Brett didn't reply and said in a low voice, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. I also didn't want this to happen. Hearing what Yihua said, Dongfang Yuer sat on the floor paralyzed and cried bitterly. I already told you all that Absolute Heaven Overlord isn't dead yet. Are you crying for me? Yihua shouted out angrily and threw the cigarette but onto the floor. Seeing that his honor was angry, everyone lowered their heads and didn't dare to say anything. In actuality, the one who was the most vexed was Yihua. He had planned this out of good intentions. Yet, I didn't expect that one of my men would almost die. This is simply lifting a rock and smashing it on my own feet. In the future, I will never do such a wicked thing again. This is retribution. Suddenly, a ray of white light flashed across the bar, and Qinya and Dongwang Baiji appeared. Seeing her husband and subordinates standing together, a woman fainting, and two women sitting on the floor crying, Qinya and Dongwang Baiji looked very puzzled. Subordinates pay respect to the two madams. Everyone shouted out respectfully. Even Brett and Dongfang Yuer shouted out while choking with sobs. What happened? Qinya walked over and asked. Yihua didn't expect that his wife would actually rush over and said faintly, It's nothing. Something happened to Zhu Tian. Something happened to Zhu Tian? Dongwang Baiji became even more puzzled. Your subordinates are so formidable. How could something happen to them? Seeing how Brett and Dongfang Yuer were crying so miserably, it seems like it isn't a small matter. Did he meet with a strong enemy? Qinya asked gravely. What strong enemy? It was all because of me. Wei Chang, speak. I don't want to speak anymore. Yihua was very gloomy. I lost a powerful general in such a short period of time. Don't you think that I am angry? Yes. Wei Chang responded, then said gravely, Today his honor arranged for Zhu Tian and Brett to meet. Yihua. After hearing what Yihua said, Qinya and Dongwang Baiji more or less understood what was going on. Both of them looked towards their man at the same time. Aren't you worrying for nothing? After hearing what Yihua said, he felt even more so. Seeing the unkind gaze of his two wives, Yihua changed the topic and asked, Why did you two suddenly come over? Chapter 584. Ali and Yenner disappeared again. Yihua exclaimed. From this sentence, it could be seen that this wasn't the first time the two little fellows disappeared. When they had nothing to do, They would hide and let the adults worry about them. Right now, they couldn't do anything about it. If you scold them, they would cry, and the next day, they would continue playing hide and seek with you. However, Chinya and Dongwang Baiji weren't too worried right now. After all, Ali had displayed his strength in the past, and he was very strong. Even if he brought his little brother to play, it would be fine. In the beginning, Chinya was still very worried. After all, Yen was still so young. However, after that, she became speechless. Basically, she could only see her son at night, and he would disappear during the day. Ever since Dongwang Li had her little brother, it was the same. Dongwang Baiji could only see her daughter at night, unless she locked the two little fellows up. She tried to lock the two little fellows up, but was very quickly solved by them. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That's right, the sun is about to set, and he still hasn't returned. Chinya shook her head. My son is even more mischievous than I imagined. Yihua was very relieved. You two don't have to worry so much. He will come back sooner or later. Nothing will happen. Chinya said, how old is he? And he is already like this. What will happen in the future? That's right, Ali is the same now. Dongwang Baiji shook her head. In the past, Ali was so obedient and sensible, but now that he has a playmate, his mischievous personality came out. Yihua said gravely, then I will lock them up next time. Don't, there will be shadows. And what else could Yihua do? These two women always do whatever they say. All right, you all can disperse first. Zhu Tian will be fine after he recuperates. Brett, you will stay at Zhu Tian's place for the next few days. Yihua arranged carefully. If Zhu Tian isn't around, Dongfang family will be in a bit of danger. Letting Brett go over to Zhu Tian's place was firstly to take care of him, and secondly to get along well with them. In the future, Zhu Tian will be able to enjoy the bliss of having two wives. Just like Lai Gu 3, I only have two, and you two actually have one more than me. Your Honor, can I take a look at Zhu Tian? Brett said pleadingly. Right now, Brett was no longer as cold and arrogant as before. What are you looking at? Isn't it messy enough? Zhu Tian and Dongfang Yu? Brett didn't dare to go against Yihua's will, and Dongfang Yuan also didn't dare to go against Yihua's will. Everyone returned to their own positions, and Yihua drank the wine in his hand. Let's go. Let's go find those two little fellows. They're getting bolder and bolder. Yihua, you need to calm down. It's not like they did it on purpose. Chinya and Dongwang Baiji hurriedly held onto the man, fearing that Yihua would start beating the man up. Yihua turned his head around and asked gravely, weren't you guys the one who wanted to go and look for him? Weren't you the ones who wanted to teach them a lesson? Were they going to look for it? Are you going to fight or not? Chinya hurriedly comforted her husband. The children are still young. They like to play outside. Calm down. That's right. That's right. With Ali looking after the child, how can anything go wrong? Dongwang Baiji also joined in, fearing that Yihua would hit the child. Meanwhile, Yihua laughed in his heart. Ali, Yen, father can only help you to this point. Be at ease and have fun. Your mother won't come and look for you. In the desert in the north, two small figures were playing on a sand dune. They were precisely Dongwang Li and Yi Yen who had sneaked out. As for how they managed to sneak out, they naturally relied on Ali's teleportation. It came out with a bayou sound. Big sister, do you think that daddy will be able to stall mommy? Ian was sitting on the skateboard, and Dongwang Li was standing behind him. Don't worry, daddy is formidable. We will be able to play more today. Dongwang Li said with a sweet smile, then rubbed onto her little brother's head. Yi Yin patted his chest. Moms are too scary. Sister is still the best. Quickly push Yen. All right, Yen, sit tight. I'll push you. Okay, Dongwang Li lightly pushed Yin, and Yin sat on the skateboard and slid down from the sand dune. Yin was screaming, and he seemed to be having a great time. Sliding down, Yin shouted, Sister, come down quickly. All right. Dongwang Li waved her hand, then slid down from the sand dune. Looking at his sister's valiant demeanor, Yin clapped his hands and shouted, Sister is so awesome. Dongwang Li patted on her, but of course if not, how can I be your big sister? Haha, big sister, let's go play with the big crab. Those aren't called crabs, those are scorpions and rattlesnakes. Dong Wang taught attentively. Yi felt that his brain wasn't enough to understand what Dong Wang was thinking. Yi laughed foolishly. Big sister is still the best. Yin is unable to remember. Let big sister teach you then. All right, Dong Wang clapped her hands and shouted, Xiao Yi, quickly come out. Along with Dong Wang's shout, the ground started shaking. It seemed like there was a huge monster underneath the sand. A whirlpool could be seen suddenly appearing, and a huge monster suddenly jumped out from the sandpit. The huge monster had 2 rows of antennae. If one had trypophobia, one would definitely vomit upon seeing those antennae. Furthermore, those eyes of the centipede looked just like scales that were reflecting light. However, when the huge centipede saw the 2 little fellows, it seemed like it was trembling a bit. This story needs to be told from half a month ago. That day was sunny, and the centipede was basking in the sun. Suddenly, the centipede heard the conversation of humans on its back. Insignificant humans actually dare to ride on the centipede's back. They must be tired of living. 1 minute later, the centipede ran away in a hurry. This is simply too cruel, inhumane. This was just the beginning. In the past 10+ days, the centipede was played by the 2 siblings like a husky. Yi even forced the centipede to bark like a dog, and he even demonstrated how to bark like a dog. Yin, this is a crab, Dong Wang said proudly. Looking at the look of worship on her little brother's face, I feel great. Finally, there is someone who worships me. Xiao air, Xiao sand, Xiao sea. Boom, boom, boom. The surface of the sand shook once again. A huge scorpion, a huge rattlesnake, and a lizard that looked just like Godzilla appeared. Although the 3 of them had ferocious looks on their faces, when they saw the even more ferocious pair of siblings, they didn't dare to move at all. Dong Wang began teaching her little brother how to recognize animals. Even if Dong Wang said something wrong, they still had to nod their heads. This is truly painful. Which family's brat is this? Hurry up and take him away. Don't come and bring harm to the world. Right now, the sky was gradually getting dark. Adding family, which was located in the south. Jingshan followed Death Mage's order and began releasing the first wave of ancient godly shards. This was a jade flute that belonged to He Tian back then. This time, the jade flute was finally put to use. After splitting the jade flute into 3 pieces, Jingshan coughed lightly and threw the 3 pieces into the sky. Then a huge amount of spiritual energy shot out from his finger. The spiritual energy made the ancient godly shards shine brightly, then flew towards 3 different directions. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.